Alrighty, good morning. Hello, everyone. So I created today's show to sort of be like digestible, but also not digestible. So the beginning, easy. The middle, hard. The ending, easier. And that way, there would be like a little bit of a cushion as we end stream today. So, just FYI. If this is the first time watching the stream, you're new to my content. I noticed that a lot of new people are coming in. I appreciate that. I appreciate that we're close to 100,000. I appreciate that too. My name is Brittany Simon. We do philosophy through pop culture. And, because of shows like today and yesterday, sometimes I, do wish that I decided to be a content creator that just eats food for a living. But I didn't become that person. And instead, I decided to be a person since I was a young child who was interested in figuring out why people do what they do. And I continue to be mortified at the behavior of human beings. I will not be apathetic. I will not be desensitized. I will not be told to stop being shocked. I will not pretend like it does not impact me. And we're going to cover a story today that's one of those kinds of stories that, it's really hard to stomach. And so I want to give you that trigger warning ahead of time, but I want you to recognize that I do radically believe this is how the world is and always has been. I do radically believe that the world will always be this way until we as a collective understand that it is us. We are the problem. And, the good thing about problems is there's often solutions. Even if you don't like the solution, there is a solution to your problem. So as we cover today's stories, I just want you to keep that in mind, right? So just remember that, because we're going to swing through politics and then philosophy and then a horrible story related to gaming and a recent murder. And then we're going to talk about politics again, and it's all connected. And it's why moving through 2026, I've been really recentering my work to make it clear that the reason I keep doing what I'm doing is like, my heart breaks for the kids we all used to be and the kids that will come into the universe. Like, when I see a man who's really struggling, or I see a man who's done something really horrible, I think about who he must have been as a child, and I think about the ways he must have been neglected or forgotten or slipped through the cracks or left behind or whatever else you want to say. Like, I do think about him as a child. Now, of course, we can't always remember people as children in a sense because they're at some point not babies. And at some point, they will make adult decisions. So, as we go through today's stream, just keep that in mind, okay? Let's just, stretch our bones a little bit. Stretch our legs. Melt our bones? What's that saying? I'm trying to say something. Let's check this out. This is like a funny little story, I think, about conservatives that will get us ready. It's so random, but here we go.
Just admit you staged it in Butler. It was the heat of the campaign. People do crazy things in campaigns.
Over the last few weeks, prominent people who supported Trump in the last election, like comedian Tim Dillon, have been speaking out against the war in Iran. They've also started expressing skepticism about the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Joe, thanks a lot for joining us.
Things really started to pick up in MAGA world last month when Joe Kent, a high-ranking intelligence official who resigned in protest over the war in Iran, went on the Tucker Carlson show.
We still don't know what happened in Butler. We don't know what happened with Charlie Kirk. And by no means am I saying the Israelis did this or any of that, but I'm saying there's a lot of unanswered questions there.
Since the early days of the investigation, the FBI have been pushing back on conspiracy theories about Trump's would-be assassin Thomas Crooks, including unsubstantiated claims that a foreign government was involved. Justice departments under both Presidents Biden and Trump have found the same thing. Thomas Crooks acted alone.
The first thing that ran through my head is because we cannot believe this man ever, that it was somehow fake.
Butler conspiracy theories are nothing new. Liberals have dabbled in them for quite some time. Like these anti-Trump protesters I met outside the RNC just a couple of days after the attempted assassination.
So you initially thought it was staged?
Yep.
Yes, as we all did.
Do you still believe that?
Yes.
But what is new is just how many former MAGA people are now piling on. including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, over the weekend, posted, "I'm not calling the Butler assassination a hoax, but there are a lot of questions that deserve public answers." And Tucker Carlson, who's been expressing skepticism about Butler for months.
The far more significant story involves the government, the DOJ, and the FBI, which have hidden from the public what they know about Thomas Crooks.
Just admit.
You know, it's very interesting when all these people start to kind of turn on each other, and there sort of ends up being this, you know, almost hysteria, if you will, of what next. I also did see like Tucker Carlson trying to say like we're complicit in all of this. And I'm telling you right now, do not eat this up. Like, do not eat it up. It is on purpose. He wants you to think he's reformed. He wants you to think he's a good person. Like, trust me when I say this, he might be anti the genocide right now, but when it's convenient, he'll support another one. Okay? Like, that's the problem with these people, is there is no actual value that they're being trying to be consistent with. And we'll cover that a little bit later. Not Tucker Carlson, but the inconsistencies with these people, because I think it's so important. And I think it's so prevalent, and it's on purpose. Like, the way that it is orchestrated is on purpose. I've seen this happen so many fucking times, and it's like we forget, you know, we forget. I'll show you at the end of stream how people are now missing George W. Bush, how short your memories are, how short all of our memories are. And I get it, right? Human's gonna human, we forget. We retell ourselves history. We replay it in our mind and said, no, it must have been different. I must be misremembering. Like, it was never this way, was it? Like, I remember when Republicans were respectful. And it's like, girl, you know what I mean? Like this, okay, whatever. So let me go ahead and show you this to kind of move us in a philosophical direction and kind of warm us up for the rest of stream. Sisyphus put out a new video, said there is no right way to live. Let's just warm up with some philosophy. Why not?
The massive men lead lives of quiet desperation, wrote Henry David Thoreau. Much of our time spent on Earth...
Ooh, let me make sure that I got the beginning of that.
The massive men lead lives of quiet desperation, wrote Henry David Thoreau. Much of our time spent on Earth may be spent second-guessing ourselves, and I think many of us live as if we're being graded. There is some ideal person floating above us, more disciplined, more attractive, more productive, more certain, and our actual life is measured against that image every day. Perhaps this is why so many people move through the world with this quiet desperation, not because they are doing nothing, but because life does not seem to come through them, rather it happens to them. What would the opposite of such a life look like? Let's take a trip to Twin Peaks, where one of the most famous television characters, Dale Cooper, could provide us some answers. Kyle MacLachlan said in an interview that he views Dale Cooper as someone who, instead of being acted upon, has command of the world. Rather than life happening to him, life happens through him. The end product is deeply charming. A highly competent, cheery, and principled FBI agent with a penchant for apple pie, coffee, and the use of Tibetan dream work as a mode of analysis. Cooper marches to the beat of his own drum, and yet does not appear individualistic or rebellious. It's as if he simply is one with the world, a natural extension of the order of things. What makes Agent Cooper so different? For one, he is not anxiously optimizing himself. It's apparent that Cooper does not live under the shadow of some external judge, whether it be the FBI, the townspeople of Twin Peaks, or any sort of ideology. Rather, Dale reacts spontaneously and earnestly to the reality that unfolds around him. Simply put, Dale Cooper is comfortable in his life. He fully inhabits his existence. Why can't we all be like Agent Dale Cooper? Much of human history has involved looking upwards to find the answers of how to live our lives. Typically, this was through some image of God, a transcendent entity separate from existence that could clarify what it is exactly we're supposed to be. And then when God lost some of his authority, we still didn't stop living under ideals. We simply replaced old ones with new ones. Money, status, optimization, health, progress. The judge survived.
Is this clavicular?
It just changed costumes. Of course, many philosophers have poked holes in these external judges. Plenty of modern thinkers noticed this. They asked how people are shaped by forces that they barely understand.
I do love the image of a thinking dog.
Institutions, culture, language, ideology, they show that many of our desires are not really ours, that what feels like freedom may just be obedience in a more flattering form. By only following this criteria imposed upon us, we may not even realize that we don't, for example, want a six-pack or a job on Wall Street or to be a tough guy. Self-improvement could even be seen as a sophisticated form of obedience. We are still following an imperfect algorithm. In fact, that's probably the whole reason why it's so confusing to be alive nowadays. We partially know that a lot of these lifestyles and
I think, always going to be frustrated when people say nowadays. Is the creator, when people say that, like, oh, nowadays, nothing is new. Everything is the same. Nothing is new. Nothing happening now is new. Everything happening now is only a feeling of newness, but it's not new. So it's so interesting when people say, like, oh, it must be really weird to be alive today. Compared to when? When was it not weird to be alive? I think it's always been kind of weird to be alive, but okay.
aspirations are far from perfect. But that doesn't really help us answer the fundamental question, how are we to live?
Some of us choose to show ourselves online.
Oh my God. Is this the brother?
Some of us don't. The fact is, in this day and age, the choice isn't really yours anyways. Data breach numbers rise every year, and according to the annual data breach report from 2023 to 2024, they went up by over 200%. Not only things like your address, number, email, social security number, and relatives information spread and leaked across the internet, they are also bought and sold by data brokers. Your activity online is even used in AI answers for its training.
Oh my goodness.
Thankfully, with our sponsor Incogni, we actually do have a choice to protect our data.
Incogni will find and remove your personal data from sites like online directories, people search sites, and commercial databases. Their process is automated for hundreds of known data brokers, and they will repeatedly check and remove your information if added again. Still too much stuff out there? Use their custom removal feature to erase everything regarding you online. You can work with your dedicated privacy expert by sending them links to which they will handle the rest. Incogni is the first and only personal data removal service to be independently verified by Deloitte, confirming their service is truthful, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there is no risk in seeing what is out there that you don't know about. Ready to take back your information? Use the code Sisyphus when visiting the link on screen or in the description for 60% off of an annual plan. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video.
Perhaps we could focus on one thinker in particular, Gilles Deleuze. And while he shared similar concerns with the postmodernists, he wanted something more than pure deconstruction. Deleuze was focused on wrestling with that very same question of life, but he wasn't going about it the way those in the past had. What he was interested in was a simple question. Not how should one live, not how should one act, but how might one live? Deleuze was recognizing the freedom and the importance of experimentation. For Deleuze, the self is not a finished object waiting to be perfected. It is a process, a shifting arrangement of habits, desires, relationships, memories, affects, contradictions. Something always being assembled and disassembled. And if we take this perspective, it becomes clear. The fantasy of finally becoming the correct self, of finally arriving at a perfect crystallized form of yourself, is already misguided. But there's still some subject experiencing life. We still need to know what to do. We do have bodies and some sense of perdurance. So to understand Deleuze's next step, we need to appreciate someone who Deleuze would call the prince of all other philosophers, Spinoza. Spinoza did something incredibly radical. He put into question whether there was such a thing as the transcendent at all. In our first examples, there's the transcendent of God, of outer truth. Then later, with the death of God, there is the transcendent of society, of capitalism, of humanism. Spinoza rejects the dualism assumed in such a question. Instead, he points to the possibility that there was never any separation from the transcendent, that there was never any real difference between transcendence and anything else. Spinoza replaced transcendence with immanence. What is immanence? Rather than assuming that a cause produces an effect outside of itself, immanence occurs when an effect remains within its cause. Immanence is like a whirlpool, something we can distinguish from water, but is also the water itself. From this, Spinoza developed a concept that would be extremely important for Deleuze, the immanent criteria. Deleuze was interested in something Spinoza called immanent criteria. What if we were to completely refuse to hand ourselves over to transcendent illusions, higher powers, or external judges? Spinoza suggested that we do not yet know the full possibilities of our bodies, our minds, of what it is to be a living human being. Spinoza's move was basically this: stop looking up. Everything you're searching for is already here, already operating, already alive in the world around you. Imagine someone who spends his whole life comparing himself to a model of success he did not create. By 30, he thinks he should have a certain salary, a certain relationship, a certain body, and a certain kind of apartment. And when he looks at his life, he sees only failure. But failure according to whose criteria? According to criteria that came from outside of him. From the culture, from the market, from the people around him, from the vague social image of what a life is supposed to look like. That is a transcendent judgment. His life is being measured against an external ideal. An immanent criterion would ask a different question. Not does this life resemble the model, but what does this life actually do? Does it become more alive or less alive? More open or more closed? More capable of that experimentation, of love, attention, courage, creation? Does it increase this person's power to act, to connect, to endure, to feel, or does it diminish them? Deleuze was heavily inspired by this thinking. He proposed that we must abandon transcendent moral frameworks, and he urged us towards an ethics of immanence. Stop judging our lives against absolute values of good and evil. Instead, let us adopt a mode of existence through immanent criteria, which looks like active experimentation over conformity. Anything that contains us and keeps us stuck is ruinous to life itself. Is this not similar to Dale Cooper? Somebody who, instead of being acted upon, has command of his world. His persistent curiosity, his refusal to fit into an easily defined role or story, and his desire to create, to collaborate, to connect. What comes across as perhaps strange and eccentric is also something that makes his character so magnetic. He is immanent. He happens to the world, and life flows through him. Deleuze doesn't offer easy answers. He's quite difficult to read, difficult to understand, and trying to write about him for a single video is its own challenge. But that's why I like the example of Dale Cooper. I think he demonstrates this sort of tragic affirmation, this creativity and experimentation with life, someone who isn't bound by his role or his particular habits. And when I think of this all together, I come away with a strangely liberating idea. Maybe there is no correct way to live, no final form, no perfect blueprint. Maybe the task is not to become the right kind of person according to some external judge or standard, but to build a life from within. A life that makes you more open, more capable, more alive. To create, to experiment, to pay attention, to follow what increases your power to act, to connect, to love, to endure. Dale Cooper walks into a strange town, orders a good cup of coffee, and somehow seems completely at home in existence. Maybe that is what we are really looking for. Not the right life from above, but a way of inhabiting our own life from within. Did you like this video? A lot of these themes are discussed in the book that I released a couple months ago. Navigates Deleuze's notion of desire, the idea of an existential crisis, and living through a sense of flow and vitality. I'd highly recommend it.
So, hold on, I gotta pull a video before I forget for later. There's been this conversation, we saw it a little bit between Tommy Curry and others, and we see it sort of in the conversation about Marxism and materialism. The idea that philosophy, Curry makes the argument that like philosophy isn't enough because philosophy is just a bunch of white guys sitting around talking about like meaning without any like material reality being shifted. And I think there's something to say about that, obviously. But I think something about this video gets to the heart of our desire to believe that our meaning is somewhat romantic and poetic, and even more than that, maybe does transcend like political lines in a sense. And I think that's what's interesting about this particular video, or just like the theme of watching philosophy videos online, is like he didn't talk about politics. He didn't talk about real life. He didn't talk about racism. He didn't talk about bigotry. He talked about the spirit. So when I say like liberate your spirit, that's a little bit of what I mean by philosophy. It's like it's for you. Like when I created the levels for the framework, it was for you. It wasn't for the world. And obviously, if every single person went on a journey of introspection, there would be a conversation about the results, the material results of that introspection. Like that's sort of the irony, is I do think there would be material results if everybody was introspective, if everybody engaged in a deep level of introspection and really sought to deeply understand themselves in a way that helps shift reality, right? So I'm not saying that I don't believe that there's some material reality that would come true. I also think that there's something ironic a little bit about something a little difficult about philosophy that, you know, something about Sisyphus's work over the years that became a little interesting was the feeling that it felt like he was lost. And so when he makes content and uses the word I, or this is the book I wrote about existential whatever, and then this is this, what's interesting is sort of the idea of, do I need to be a person who knows what's up before I start talking? I got this question a lot in my 20s where people would say, don't you think like you shouldn't be giving relationship advice if you're not like in this perfect position? Or don't you think because you've been diagnosed with whatever, that you shouldn't be talking about these things? I think all of us, even at our most toxic, are in positions to share that toxicity and that reality and that whatever stage of health you're in. And it requires a level of awareness from audiences on how to engage in these things. So like, random example I wasn't planning to talk about, but if you're on my side of TikTok, you know, and you have the Shira Sevens and a lot of these women who are like, I'm never going to marry a man, I'm going to be single forever. And then you see a woman get engaged and married and, you know, they talk about how much men suck and they want to get married to men. Obviously, there's the Shira Seven kind of perspective where I think she really did love her husband. He died recently. But I think the brand didn't allow her to ever share a level of vulnerability that even though her audience read it from her, it was sort of ironic. I had this moment with my partner yesterday where this is going to sound so stupid, but from a human perspective, like a deeply human perspective, we were talking about the shooting that had happened, the father who shot his kids. And then we were talking about like living with the reality of like putting a bullet in somebody, because obviously neither of us have ever shot anybody. And then we were talking about Charlie Kirk. And I was like, oh my God, like, can you imagine watching your partner die like that? And I was like, oh my God, that's so sad. And I started to get emotional thinking about my own partner. And then I was like, oh my God, do I care more about Charlie Kirk's death than his own wife? Because Erica Kirk's display of mourning was so offensive to my sense of, I don't even know, like embodied empathy, that I was like, girl, do you even love this man? And then I was like, I don't even care that Charlie Kirk died on some superficial level, but when I project my own partner into Charlie's position, then I think about my loved one being shot in front of all these people and being on camera and seeing it, then all of a sudden I'm sad. You know, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, that makes so. But what's crazy is like, I couldn't be her. Like if my partner died in any way, I would need some time. I couldn't even imagine switching up and just being like on tour and doing these weird Trump campaigns. And then I start to think like, man, there's something really evil, philosophically evil about not being able to truly mourn. We're going to talk a lot about that today, mourning and mourning with your community. And we're going to talk about how like we live in a world that in one way sends a message that we should be, disconnected from our feelings and disconnected because it's better to be logical. But we know that we are not logical people. We make decisions on emotions. We make decisions with logic, but it's a farce. Like it's a narrative we tell ourselves, but it's not actually real. Because if that was true, I could show you a statistic, I could explain to you data, and you would automatically just be logical, but you're not logical, right? Your bigotry isn't logical. Your hatred isn't logical. Your disdain for humanity isn't logical. You're just, and so we're not logical beings, so that's why I think Alex O'Connor makes the emotive kind of argument. But I think more than that, there's something about, it's like an allowance. Like you have to give yourself permission in a sense to be sad. And I think that's a practice of meditation that's really difficult, is you have to give yourself permission to be sad for bad people. And then you have to give yourself permission to let go of the attachment that they're bad and that they're simply a force you're interacting with, which is really, really hard because especially with the story we're going to cover today, it is incredibly difficult to hold those two things true when your biological experience makes you want to rip someone's head off when you hear some of the things people have done, right? Like some of the things people have done to little kids. We're going to talk about that today. Not right now. I'll give you a trigger warning before we start. But there's something here that says, I always think about why. Like how must one live a good life? But like, why must one live a good life? It's like that part is so hard. And I think just because of the way my brain works in the world, like, why must one live a good life? I saw the most random, hold on, let me show this to you. I saw the most random TikTok from Kev on Stage, which shout out to Kev for being such a LGBT advocate, apparently. Okay. But I saw this. What do you guys think about this? It says, I've never seen a white person in my dreams. Have y'all?
Internet said, I've never seen a white person in my dreams. Have y'all? Not only have I never seen a white person in my dreams, I've never even thought about the fact that my dreams is black people. I see white people, Mexican people every day, all day. but my dreams is black dreams. Usually me fighting or riding dragons. But I'm curious, other cultures chime in. Mexican people, do y'all see only Mexican people in your dreams? White people, do y'all see only white people? I need to know, I need everybody to chime in. Asian people, y'all see other Asians? Polynesians, Samoans, do y'all see other Polynesians? I need everybody to chime in, because I know I ain't never seen nobody but black folk. Joshi, have you seen other people outside of Mexicans in your dreams, or is it only Mexicans?
I think I only see Mexicans.
Oh! Oh, it's true!
Okay, so, right? Wait, hold on. Chad said, I'm sorry, I couldn't forget who Charlie was to even project to feel anything sad. I'm sorry, I just want to say it again. It has nothing to do with Charlie. I didn't project sadness for Charlie. I projected my partner dying, like Charlie died, right? But I just want to make that clear. It's not Charlie dying. It's projecting my partner dying onto Charlie. Like imagining my husband died. That's what made me sad, not Charlie dying, because I don't fucking know Charlie, right? And he's a piece of shit. So it's hard to feel sad for when a piece of shit dies. But also, it was projecting my husband onto Charlie. Right? I just want to make sure we understand that clearly, because I don't want people out here thinking I'm crying for Charlie Kirk. No tears were shed for this man. Okay? It was not for him. Okay? Okay, now, this is what I like about brains working differently. So for the record, my dreams are everybody, but my dreams are also like different species and wizards and dragons and Ninja Turtles and trolls and humans and mermaids, and my dreams are so vivid, I'm annoyed because I'm awake. I don't even sleep at night because I'm dreaming so hard that I'm like, I have to go to stream tomorrow. I got to work. I prep for stream in my dreams. When I am dreaming, I am prepping for my streams. I'm not even fucking with you. And so that's what I love about brains is everybody is so different. Everyone is just having such a different experience. And so when we project onto all of humanity the same experience, we're really like neglecting the nuance between how we think. And this impacts everything that we do. How we socialize, how we talk to people, how we think about people, how we assume because we're experiencing it, they must be experiencing it, right? And so that's what I want you to think about. I love this conversation. I think it's so cool to learn how other people dream. Same thing with aphantasia. Oh my God, every time people talk about aphantasia, it's like they just can't fathom that the world doesn't work the way that their brain works. Like same thing with dyscalculia or dyslexia. Like everyone's just so convinced. Everyone's, oh, that's not true. That's not true. Same thing with autism or anything else. Like that's what I love about humanity. I saw my Discord shared the funniest photo. Wait, my Discord shared a picture that was like, to everyone doing autism self-assessments and saying these questions are poorly phrased, they couldn't have made they could have made multiple interpretations, and that really is frustrating. I have got news for you. When I took my autism assessment tests, it was a lot of tests. And recently I got a hold of my high school transcripts. Okay, listen. And I asked my school district for my high school transcript. I needed them and I looked over them, and my transcripts from high school were such a cry for help. They were like the biggest cry for help I've ever seen in my life. And I just kept thinking, like, if I was a parent and I saw this transcript, I would know my child was suffering. Teachers loved me. I had a really good I never took it personal that I was bad at testing, but my teachers just didn't know what to do with me. But like, I cannot test, and it's related to autism. I cannot test to save my life. And so when I took my autism assessment and he would ask me a question, I'd be like, do you mean this? He's like, well, what do you think I mean? I was like, well, you could mean a lot of things. And he's like, well, what do you think I'm asking? I was like, well, you're probably asking this just based off probability, but see how I'm making a gamble? Because also I could read it like this. I got a comment yesterday in my my comment section and I was like, I think this is racist, but I can't tell because my autistic brain is willing to give people the benefit of the doubt that maybe they mean this. So I showed it to my partner. I was like, hey, is this racist? I need to know if I needed to delete it. And my partner's like, yeah, that's racist. And then I went on my Discord. My Discord is like, hey, Britt, there's this comment in your comment section. And I was like, so it was racist. And then like, so there's something in my brain, I know that I can see every perspective of a comment and I can make things be so variable. Like, I can read something and be like, oh, maybe they meant this. Maybe they meant this. And then that's the thing that also gets me in trouble, because I think a lot of autistic people tend to give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt, right? Like a lot of people the benefit of the doubt because of this, because we as like, and that's why I think we get targeted so much by people because, and we'll talk about it today, we literally will create explanation after explanation for why this person is being a bad person and will always be the most good faith. And this is why I'm not doing it anymore, because I absolutely get taken advantage of, where I'm like, I'm sick of it. And then who gets the most of the blame? Me. Who gets the responsibility? You. It's not the predator. It's not the man taking advantage. It's not the liar. It's you. You are at fault. And I'm sick of it. Okay? We're talking a lot about that today. Okay? So with that said, the Sykkuno stuff. Okay? So Muujin, who is the original creator of the Sykkuno video, he deleted his Sykkuno video. I don't know why yet, and I don't get it. I don't know who his content creator is. I thought the video was well done, and he was reached out by the victims. But let's talk about that, because when I made that video about Sykkuno, so many people were victim blaming. Well, you don't have to debate whether or not Sykkuno did it. He admitted it. He put out a statement. He said, I did it. The women knew he was cheating. I don't know why we're still debating whether or not he cheated. Now, what they are debating is whether or not he's abusive. What does a man have to do to be titled abusive? What does he have to do for you guys to be comfortable calling him an abuser? I mean, seriously, what does he have to do? Because I feel like time and time again, this administration and the men around us have shown that they can do anything, including get with children, and y'all will be like, but he's funny though. Oh, but he's like entertaining. Like, she wanted it, bro. She reached out to him. So let's see why he took the video down and what his explanation is, because I don't know what this is about.
All right, so first things first, this video is not monetized. I'm not about to pull a CC in the big 2026. I'm making this in regard to my last video about Sykkuno. I want to clarify how this video came to be, while also taking accountability and apologizing for the mistakes that I made. At the same time, I also want to clear up some misinformation spread about me over the last few days. This video was meant to come out a bit earlier, but I was told by someone in the know that Sykkuno might release a joint statement with his girlfriend, so I chose to wait for that first, just in case. I'll also be going through that later in the video. So, how did this all begin? Well, for me, it was on April 7th when I was reached out to by Mal for the first time. I was told that a Google Doc was releasing soon about a big content creator. And this is when I was asked if I wanted access to it early to maybe make a video about it. The document was going to publicly release on the 10th anyway. This means that this wasn't some grand conspiracy, okay? This document was going to release with or without me. And while yes, rumors of Sykkuno's behavior have been floating around for a while now between certain content creator circles, none of this was going to really convince me to make an early video. If you've watched my channel before, then you'd know that I'm someone who highly values both sides of the story. It's actually something that I always implore you to do before forming your own opinions. And while I do receive...
I don't know his content, for the record. I really have never seen him before that I have a memory of. So, and usually I try to... He's got a big channel, like 1 million subscribers, but I don't think we've ever covered him. And if we have, I don't remember. So I don't even know what he means by both sides, but always a red flag when I hear that. There are never two sides to the story. There's always three. But also, what does that even mean when the man fully admitted it? What do you need two sides of the story when Sykkuno literally said, yeah, I did it? Like, what do you mean?
So many DMs about scoops or exclusive info about certain topics, I mostly never take them, always choosing to wait for things to unfold in public first before making my videos. What made the situation special, though, was the 17-minute video recording of the voice call between Mal and Sykkuno. My logic here was simple. It was me thinking that we already had the other side of the story, and it was Sykkuno admitting to his wrongdoings in the most raw and unfiltered way possible. So I figured that was enough. At the same time, I thought that since my channel had grown exponentially, don't ask me how or why because I have no idea.
Insane views, 1 million views, 3 million views, 1 million views, like crazy views.
I could maybe use my platform for a good cause, spreading awareness about Sykkuno's behavior so that no one else gets tricked into being a homewrecker against their will, while in parallel, encouraging others who have been wronged by him to finally speak up. Additionally, seeing that the person speaking up was doing so from a small account, I figured I could help amplify that message to spread maximum awareness. Now yes, some people could definitely argue that I was desperate for a topic to bring in views, but to me it didn't matter because I was already lucky enough to be able to cover niche topics I enjoy and still somehow reach over 1 million views on them. Again, don't ask me how because I don't know, but that was just the reality. Here's the thing though. Releasing the video around the same time as the document meant that I was taking a substantial risk by putting my channel's reputation on the line. I knew this, even at the time, but it was a risk I was willing to take if it meant that I was doing the right thing. Unfortunately, though, it didn't really work out as I had hoped, and I ended up making mistakes that I need to take accountability for, which is why we're here today.
Okay.
The first mistake can be found in the intro of the video, and it's me using the word predator. Yes, it was my idea, and the logic behind it was me trying to encompass everything, like the serial cheating, lying, and deliberate targeting of smaller content creators into one word. Before using it, I even made sure to double check its definition.
He is a predator. He is one. Is he doubting his word of predator? He is a predator. In my opinion, where I come from, that's what you call a predator.
In multiple dictionaries, which said things like a person or an organization that uses weaker people for their own advantage, or one who injures or exploits others for personal gain or profit. Due to this, I had come to the conclusion that, yeah, this word fits.
Is he afraid of getting sued? Because people were like, I hope Sykkuno sues you. Are you afraid of getting sued for saying that? This is what I'm saying. We will never get justice in the world if men who serial cheat, abuse, manipulate are allowed to be like, I'm not a predator though. I'm not a predator. That is what predators do. That is predatory.
I'd find out quickly afterwards, though, that for many people, that word is only reserved to describe pedophiles or sexual predators.
No, those are people who are trying to gatekeep, and they won't even use it for those people. They won't call Trump a predator. There's Epstein files and not one arrest. Like, see how we live in a world where victims never get to get hurt because you decided you didn't like the word they used? This is why victims will never get justice, because you are being so focused on semantics. This is happening time and time again. Do not do this. Focus. It is predatory, makes you a predator. He made a deliberate decision. Do not let him get away with this because you don't want to quote call him a predator.
Made a substantial amount of people feel misled after watching the intro of my video. It made it seem like a hit piece, exaggerating things.
No, it made men who were squeamish. It made women who uphold patriarchy feel uncomfortable. No reasonable person who's been victimized by a serial cheater would ever not feel like they were being serially abused, and or unless they were like willing to protect their abuser, like Sykkuno's girlfriend. It is predatory behavior. There's just no way around it. And I'm going to get into this later with my story that I have to cover for you. But there is a conversation about whether or not abusive men can ever be redeemed. And I want to talk about this because I do think there's something here that needs to be said. And it's that, and I'm going to show you a therapist who talks about this. But abusive men will never get better unless they actually can admit they're abusive. Sykkuno's inability to see himself as being predatory will mean he will never recover. Therapy doesn't work for people who aren't willing to do the work. And so predatory men will probably never even heal, even if they go to therapy, because they can't even admit what they did was predatory. It is absolutely predatory what he did.
And it also made it seem like Sykkuno had committed very serious crimes, enough to land him in a high-security prison or something, when that clearly wasn't the case. That was not my intention at all, and I'm sorry for that. From now on, I'll only use that word to refer to pedophiles or sexual predators. That's it. No exceptions.
Okay, was he having sex? Did his girlfriend have informed sex about his STI status? Was he spreading STIs? Did he have protected sex? Was he using birth control? Was he using condoms? Okay, was he doing oral sex? Was he giving oral sex? Was he then going home and having sex with his girlfriend, right? We don't know, but there are so many elements to this that could lead to you still being able to use that word even under your own definition. So be careful.
I'd also like to say that yes, the video was rushed. It simply didn't meet the quality standard that you expect of me, and that's without even mentioning that it was clearly biased and didn't attempt to see different viewpoints. There's a reason I don't typically reach out to people involved in public incidents, because it's very easy to form bias after you communicate directly with them. It's just human. So yeah, what Mal said at the end of her call with Sykkuno was off-putting, and it wouldn't have hurt for me to point that out. I get that. I was instead more focused on Sykkuno's admittance of guilt. I'm sorry for letting you guys down in that regard. You trust me with—
No. Focusing on what she said is because people don't understand victim mentality. You don't understand how victims think. And so you think it's the same way why Sykkuno staying with him. Why would you stay with him after everything? Because women are trained under patriarchy to believe that men will change if we just help them. Which is why, again, I'm going to feature this therapist later in stream who says that she was in an abusive relationship and basically really believed, even as a therapist, that if she just got her man help, he would stop beating her, until she came to the realization that he would beat her everywhere but her face. So when she would go on television, nobody would ever know. And then she had the realization, oh, it's not his mental health. It's not his PTSD. It's him. He wants to beat me. Sykkuno wanted to cheat. That's all this is. And the victims they believe that the predators who have wounded them just need the right intervention. Instead of recognizing, and this is what I had to realize in my former relationship, because I believe the same thing. He didn't mean to do it. He's going through stuff. He had a bad childhood. And then I realized, like, oh, this is who you are. I thought this whole time, this wasn't who you are. This is just who you had to be because of your trauma. And then I realized, like, oh, you've been given every opportunity to be a different person and you won't be one. Sykkuno has had every opportunity to be a different person and he chose not to be one at 35 years old. Come on now. That's who he is. That is who he is. And whether or not he'll change, who knows? But that doesn't matter because it's not happening right now.
A certain quality standard, and I just couldn't deliver it this time, and that's on me. I also want to apologize to Sykkuno's girlfriend. In the 17-minute video of the voice recording, there was one frame, which represents 1/60th of a second that wasn't blurred, and it leaked to the group chat she was in when she found out that Sykkuno had been cheating on her with multiple people. This frame was enough for certain individuals to confirm her username, and it impeded on her privacy. I was not the one who handled blurring it, but I still included the entire thing in my own video and completely missed that detail. So I take full responsibility for that. I'm sorry. Now look, with all that being said, apologies are great, but there's no use presenting them if there's no attempt to act on them. And that's exactly what I intend to do. But first, I want to go through some misinfo that was spread about me in recent days and set the record straight. When the video first released, XQC reacted to it almost immediately and would spend his time.
XQC is trash. God bless him, okay? XQC is trash. All these boys are trash. They do not get to stand up and talk about what abuse is, considering the fact that XQC was more than happy to do a collaboration with Donald Trump, okay? I don't want to hear it. Who is a sexual predator? I don't want to hear it, okay? I don't want to hear any of these men who hang out with sexual predators. XQC talks to Destiny all the time. I don't want to hear it, okay? I don't want to hear it. And Destiny after the allegations. This is important because I know people want to bring up, oh, Brittany used to collab with Destiny. I collabed with Destiny for a year. 1 year of my life, biggest regret of my career. But no, all these men still talk to him. And that is the difference. I ended my relationship with Destiny before I even found out about the sexual abuse allegations. And these people stayed friends with him even after. That's the difference. Sykkuno, all these people that are standing by him, they're a part of the problem too. What does a man have to do for you to decide? Absolutely not. Okay? So just a reminder that the women in these communities are always held to a higher standard than the men. So just remember that. Remember that. And that's what happens. And that's why I watch these men who try to go, oh, well, you were with this person. You were with this person. Again, the context, okay? Because this is why Sykkuno's going to get away with this. Because why would Mujin make this video? Why would he feel so bullied except a bunch of boys came into his chat and bullied him? And a bunch of girls who were holding up patriarchy came in his chat and bullied him. It's too bad because it was a good video. And he made a lot of really great points because Sykkuno was a predator. It was predatory what he did. And I'm so sick of these men in their 30s trying to hit on teenagers. And I say this as somebody who has a brother who's done the same thing. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of these men in their 30s hitting on teenagers and calling it fair because they're, quote, legal adults. I'm so fucking tired of all of you fucking perverts because you were absolutely predatory. You absolutely did something wrong. And you know you did something wrong because you won't talk about it. You know you did something wrong because you won't actually face yourself. And I'm sick of it. So no. Absolutely not. I will not let this man with 1 million subscribers walk back a video he made that, for the most part, was actually really fucking good. Sykkuno's trash. He's a bad person. He did a bad thing to 3 different people, and his girlfriend staying with him is also a part of being a victim. It's very normal for victims of abuse to stay with their abusers. So all of these girls, see how the audience is holding these girls more accountable than the men? You see how you always hold the women more accountable than the men, even though the men targeted, lied, deceived these women? These women are at fault for believing these men. Trash.
I'm defending Sykkuno while trying to undermine the things he's done to people. He would also comment on my video. In that comment, he'd make it seem like my problem.
XQC says if he can only date people that are more famous than he is, then who could he have dated during this peak era? There were 0 creators that qualify for that. Please clarify. This is the stupidest argument I've ever heard in my life. Do not play stupid. There is a difference between somebody that much younger than you, 19 and 34 at the time, that is so fucking different. There is a difference between a fan and there's a difference between another adult peer. There is a difference. There is absolutely a difference. There is a difference. And I know this as a creator myself. It is not the same thing. They are not analogous. Plenty of famous people can date non-famous people. The power dynamics come in the quality of mental health of the person you're dating and the sense of responsibility they have. Sykkuno lied. He deceived. That's the point. You are distracting from the point. Sykkuno admits to the abuse. He admits, well, he doesn't call himself an abuser. In my bubble, he's an abuser. But he admitted to infidelity. He admitted to it. Okay? So there's no conversation to be had about like, oh, who's supposed to date him? Nobody. He's a cheater.
Saikuna's behavior had to do with the lack of clout of the women he reached out to. In any case, what would happen next is a narrative that would form saying that I deleted his comment because I couldn't handle his unparalleled wisdom. As you can see,
Why am I muted? Hello? Oh, damn it. I was muted. Hold on. Let me rephrase. Let me redo. I was yelling. I was really yelling. Chessa, did you hear people are defending David, the grown-ass man who abused and murdered a 16-year-old? Celeste was 14. Celeste was 14. Do not age her up. Do not age her up. Because that is exactly the bullshit that I'm sick of hearing. Oh, a woman died. A woman died. A girl died. A little girl died. A 14-year-old girl died. Okay? A child died because a grown-ass man, right, wanted and felt entitled to her. So 14. Do not even age her up. 16 would have been just as horrendous, but 14 is even more gruesome. And by the way, now, apparently, the news has come out that allegedly she might have been stabbed. So just for the record, that's why they say it was premeditated. He invited her over to his house and then stabbed her. So allegedly, that's what I've heard so far. We'll cover it in detail later. That's the point I'm trying to make. Do not let these men get away with shit, because it always starts with infidelity, and it starts with either financial or emotional or physical, and then it can lead to so much more, which is why all these husbands killing their wives over divorce court. All of these husbands killing their wives over divorce court. Men have killed for less. Okay, yes, thank you, Chad says she was 11 when they started talking. I knew she was younger when they started talking. I just didn't know how young. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Do not let cheating just be this casual thing that we talk about when we know it could be an indication of character in the long run, especially since cheating is often not even the first step. And how many men literally convince, and I know a lot of it is self-esteem. I know they target insecure women. Like, of course, these men specifically target insecure women and convince these women, you're the only thing that will save me. You're the only one who will do right by me. You're the only one who could love me. And then you guys fall for it. And then you guys engage in it. And then you fall for the abuse, which I don't blame you for. It's a really good shtick. It works because it really makes you feel bad, right? And then who gets all of the abuse? Who gets all of the heat from the internet? The victims.
That's false. It's still right here, along with all the wonderful comments left by his community too. I really don't know why he and some other content creators tried so hard to defend Saikuna's behavior, as if he was
Thank you.
their long-lost brother or something.
Thank
All I know is
you.
that cheating has been
It's because they've done the same thing. It's because all of these men are shit. All these men will do the same thing. That's why.
shunned by humanity for thousands of years, regardless of gender. Maybe normalizing it now is probably a bad idea, but hey, you're free to form your own opinion. Go for it. Next, some people tried to claim that I changed my video's title because I was scared of a defamation lawsuit from Saikuna. Sure, a random lawyer from Fiverr might claim that, but it's false. Here's a neat trick. You can go to a website like vstats.com, go
Yes,
to any
you
channel,
can.
we'll pick, I don't know, Mr. Beast, click on a video, and you'll actually be able to see any thumbnail or title changes since upload. Pretty cool, right? Now,
There are websites that also show you descriptions too. And there are some websites that can prove that people who claim like certain things like, oh, I had it in the description, it was satire. Some of these websites say not so much. You know, so all these YouTuber men who go, actually, the description said satire. You sure about that? You sure about
if you were to do
that?
that with my video, you'd see that there were no thumbnail or title changes whatsoever since upload. So that's false. And look, defamation is about knowingly lying about someone in order to ruin their reputation. I had no intention of lying in my video about Saikuna. And if I did want to lie, then wouldn't I have just simply removed the last 2 minutes of Mal and Saikuna's voice call so that she looks way better and he looks way worse? It just doesn't make sense. I never make any video with the intention of lying. Period. And finally, when it comes to misinfo, there's also something else that honestly doesn't deserve attention at all, but I'll still mention it. And it's this weird rumor or fan fiction that some people made up saying that I only made this video to try and get with the women that were affected by Saikuna's.
That's patriarchy. That's misogyny, right? See how the victims are once again tools for a man's success? That the victims and like can't actually be real victims. He must be wanting to sleep with them. This is H3. This is Ethan Klein saying to Taylor Lorenz, Hassan will never fuck you. You're also fucking disgusting. Like in this, by the way, even Hassan defenders will say, I think people are just mad at Hassan because they want to fuck him. Stop saying this. This is misogyny. Stop talking about fucking. Be so serious. This is predatory behavior and you're busy talking about fucking. Be serious. Stop saying this. This comes from misogyny. It comes from patriarchy to claim haters just want to fuck you. Haters are haters for different reasons, but some of us have real criticisms of these people in these communities. Sykkuno has a real reason to be called a predator. There's a real reason to call him that. Who in good conscience could tell their friend to date Sykkuno? Tell me this. Which one of you are willing to tell your besties to date him? And how would you live with yourself knowing what he did to these women if you recommended that? And why couldn't you recommend that Sykkuno date your besties? Because you know he's going to abuse them. Because you know he's not going to treat them right. That's why you wouldn't tell your girlfriends to date Sykkuno. So why are we pretending like this man is no longer safe? He is dangerous now.
Actions. Anyone who knows me or has ever spoken with me in the content creation sphere knows that I never even attempt to flirt. I keep things strictly professional. I take my platform very seriously and would never seek to use it in that way. It's simply not who I am. It's obviously also very disrespectful to anyone who was hurt by Sykkuno's actions, but it's not like the people peddling these rumors cared about them to begin with. All right, so next up we have the joint statement that was posted by Sykkuno and his girlfriend. The first half would be written by Sykkuno. In it, he'd reiterate that he lied to people about being single and that he has been unfaithful to his girlfriend. He'd apologize and say that he'd be taking a break from streaming in order to better himself. He'd also call out anyone trying to frame him with false accusations. So yeah.
But he didn't even go into details. I cannot allow false accusations and such extreme labels to be placed on me. Like what? Name them. Talk about them. That's why I push back on cheating being abusive, because everyone's always like, cheating's not abusive, Brittany. Listen, there might be a sort of, you know, cheating in your head that you think exists that maybe isn't as harmful. But when we're talking about adults lying, going behind each other's back, spending money, having sex with people, coming home, not telling you, not getting STI panels done, engaging in a long-term infidelity streak, targeting people who are vulnerable, like, this is abuse.
As you can see, not much has changed. He's already admitted to these things in the voice call with Mal. When it comes to false accusations, though, yes, there are stories that have circulated for years among some VTubers that accuse Sykkuno of doing worse than cheating. At this point, though, it is not up to me to say whether it's true or not, just pointing out what he might be referring to. He could also be referring to the word predator, which I already apologized for. Now, the second half of this statement would be written by his girlfriend. She'd express how hard this has all been on her, and how hurt she felt over not having a choice on whether this went public or not, saying that she understands that many people were hurt, but that her feelings felt like they weren't really considered at all. She'd call out people who sought to use this incident for profit, and would say that even prior to this going public, she was already trying to work through things with Sykkuno in order to repair their relationship together. She'd end her statement by saying that even with everything that has come out, she doesn't consider Sykkuno's actions irredeemable. She's going to stay with him and try to fix their relationship in spite of everything. Listen.
It's not abnormal for victims to stay. Like I said, I will feature a video from a licensed therapist who stayed with her physically abusive husband because she really believed he was just suffering from mental health. And if she could help him, he would get better. And I need you to understand, this is the problem. And I know, and I don't blame the victims. You are being victimized further, and you don't even know it yet. And I can only hope that you get out one day, because you deserve to live in a relationship where this isn't your job, where you don't have to look at your partner and constantly forgive them for going against their vows to you, their commitment to you, their promises to you, where you don't have to be the one always doing this emotional labor for them. You deserve to be in healthy relationships. It is possible. I believe in it. I want you to know you can have it. I promise you, it is real. Marriage is not hard. Relationships are not hard. Life is hard. And if you're in a hard relationship, I'm telling you, it's not the right one.
I can't imagine what she's been through in just these last few weeks. Finding out that your boyfriend has been cheating on you for years, that he slept with someone as recently as December 2025 behind your back, and that he was still trying to arrange a meetup with someone else as you were already trying to fix your relationship after what had happened in December. I mean, seriously,
Horrible.
It's just insane. But I do think this needs to be said. The fact that this went public is unfortunate, but people were genuinely hurt by Sykkuno lying to them that he was single. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion at this point.
And how many future victims were just saved? Because no offense, it's not like he was going to stop. At least now somebody might know. And I guarantee you, by the way, there's going to be somebody who doesn't know. I know people always say that, like, how do you not know what's happening? How do you not know what's happening? I'm telling you right now, there are going to be women who still have not heard this story, and they're not going to know, because not everybody is chronically online. And so they're just not going to come across it. And so you have to constantly be talking about it. It's why I never shut up about abusers, because I'm like, do you know this? Because people don't know. You think they know, but they don't. And so you have to tell people.
Let me know if you think it is, but if someone lied to me about being single, and I later found out that us having sex directly hurt their partner, made them depressed, and ruined or at least endangered a 5-year-long relationship, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. That's simply not what I would have signed up for. And seeing me as a public figure who used this public standing to get with these women after lying to them, it felt like this going public was going to be inevitable. But that doesn't mean that her feelings are not valid, because they are. When it comes to me, I did have a hand in spreading this to the public by releasing my video so quickly, and I simply had no right to do so. And for that, I am sorry. Now, I've seen some people's reactions to this announcement, and yeah, as you might expect, it's not sunshine and roses. This whole topic has been extremely polarizing on the internet to begin.
Oh, and by the way, now that his video is down, people are definitely going to have trouble finding it. Right? So like now, if Sykkuno does this again, which he most likely will, I think cheaters have a statistical probability of 2 to 3 times more likely to cheat as they continue. It's very hard to stop when you have a pattern of cheating and abuse, right? So, I mean, Sykkuno would have to become a completely new person. It's just not probable. It's not probable. So now if he interacts with more people in the future and they try to look him up, this video is gone. So the initial video he made warning victims, future victims, no longer exists. That sucks. See how victims are silenced? See how they are not protected? See how we always end up protecting the predator every single fucking time?
With, and the girlfriend in particular is getting hate thrown her way with people calling her things like gold digger or Stockholm syndrome victim for not leaving him. Here's the thing though. What matters here is that Sykkuno stops his serial cheating streak and that he stops lying to women about him being single while turning them into homewreckers against their will. That's it. If she wants to stay, that's her choice. She doesn't deserve to get nasty things said about her though. I wish her the best, and I again would like to apologize if I directly contributed to any harm that she might have gone through. That was not my intention. Look, ultimately, my favorite YouTuber growing up was PewDiePie. Yeah, I enjoyed his sense of humor, the fact that for the longest time, he was the sole runner of his channel, which gave him so much authenticity, but most of all, what I really liked about him was that he was not ashamed of being human. He would make mistakes, but when he would, he'd also sincerely apologize and work to learn from them. It's no secret that today, as a content creator, if you were to make a mistake, it would be so much easier to wait for it to die down in a week and then continue business as usual, as if nothing had happened. I was even advised by some to do exactly that and not release this video. And I understand why. It unfortunately works. But to me, it's simply the right thing to do, even if it leads to more scrutiny and people disliking me. I screwed up, I'm going to say sorry, and I will improve. So what am I going to change exactly? Well, to start, I'll never give another exception to a scoop or exclusive info. I will do what I've always done on this channel and talk about things that I've already played.
I will say, I also stopped doing stuff like this as well. I find that the best thing to do is have victims speak for themselves and then engage in like some sort of like therapy or something like that. I will say as a YouTuber, I understand his perspective on not wanting to engage in this type of, you know, having direct contact with the story. I do think it ends up causing more action, like problems down the road, and I'm bummed he took down the video because it was a good video. And I still need to make it clear, like Sykkuno is, in my opinion, a predator. And I define cheating as predatory. And I think people who have a habit and a pattern of cheating are not going to stop at this. And I guarantee you, from all the patterns I've seen from other cheaters, it's never just one, which we know for a fact it wasn't. And if he was already at 34 years old willing to engage with a 19-year-old, there's a high probability that he could excuse something younger. Andrew Tate loves to brag that in his almost 40s, right? I don't think he's quite 40 yet, or maybe he is 40. He has engaged with 16-year-olds because it's, quote, legal. Like, trust me when I say predatory men who feel entitled to women's bodies will not hesitate to go after girls. And so Sykkuno being willing to even engage with a 19-year-old at 34 is already outrageous. It might as well have been a minor. That's my opinion. It might as well already have been a minor. And I mean that.
Out in public. I don't care if a 5-star general gives me info about World War III starting tomorrow. I will make the video after the nukes drop. I also realize now just how much you guys value my objectivity. I understand that I'm not perfect at it, and I probably never will be, but I'll always strive to present information to you in the most balanced way possible so that you can, in the end, form your own opinion. And finally, no matter how much this channel grows, I'll always ask you to be honest with me, and I promise to take accountability when needed, just like how I'm doing.
And by the way, I think this is one of those situations where, see how this guy has 1 million subscribers and all of these videos, and he probably makes really good videos, and yet, right, he's taking it back because he got too much heat. So that's what I'm saying. Like, now imagine you're the victims and you're getting all this heat. He's not even one of the victims, and the heat was too much for him.
Right now. So look, if the last video was a deal breaker for you and you want to unsubscribe, then I completely understand. But I won't let you leave without thanking you first. Take care, and may our paths cross again someday. On the other hand, if you're planning to stick around for future content, then I'd like to thank you so much for allowing me to make a mistake and grow from it. I say this all the time when I stream, but not a day goes by where I take any of this for granted. And the fact that so many of you watch me, whether you're driving home, chilling at work, doing chores, knitting, or just eating, I'm so honored to be able to make your day a bit less mundane with my videos. It's truly a blessing. Thank you. I also would like to thank my Discord mods, my friends, and my viewers who reached out during this time. It meant a lot, and I really appreciate it. The Sykkuno video was live for a week, so I'll keep this video live for a week as well.
2.2 million views.
However, I do plan to private the original video as soon as this video gets uploaded. I hope to be back sooner rather than later, continuing to make videos that you enjoy at the level of quality that you expect of me. As always,
that sucks. I hate that. I won't be subscribing. Thank you. I am not going to subscribe to anyone who who hesitates around a predator. or / doesn't use their position of power for better. No, this guy has a little less than 800,000 subscribers. I said 1 million, but you know, I didn't like it. Not subscribing. I also think this plays into our next topic about how the gamer community is deeply concerned about the sexualization of this little girl in this new game called Pragmata. Because it's all connected. Whether or not we want to believe it, it is absolutely connected. The fact that the gaming community is so terrified over the fear of what is about to happen to this little girl tells you everything you need to know about how fucked up a lot of these men are in these spaces, and I'm so fucking sick of it. I'm so fucking sick of it. And by the way, I'm going to show you a real little girl that was murdered by a man who felt entitled to her. It is very triggering, so just get ready, okay? And I want you to know this is why I will not be lenient on serial cheaters. I will not be lenient on people who target people who are vulnerable. I will not be lenient. We should not be lenient on Sykkuno. What he did was disgusting. And I can only hope that his girlfriend and the victims involved are able to free themselves from this pathetic person's grasp, because that's what he's done. He has trapped them in a if you leave me, you're abandoning me cycle. And until they break that cycle, they will be further victimized. Disgusting. Disgusting. Oh, it pisses me off. Oh, it pisses me off. All right. In the gaming community, this game called Pragmata, this little girl here is a robot. And if you don't play video games, I don't really play video games. The gaming community is terrified for what they're about to do to this little girl. So if you know anything about gaming communities or anything about really any community, is most of the content gets turned into porn. And so people are really, really worried. And I think this plays into what I want to talk about in this segment here. So just a huge trigger warning. We're going to talk about SA. We're going to talk about just men and abusers and whether or not they can even be redeemed. We're going to talk about how this plays into grown women and little girls. And we're going to talk about mental health. So just get ready. This also connects to the fact that the website linked to the mass rape of Giselle Pelicot relaunched. So we thought it was over with. We thought this website, which was responsible, okay, a website linked to sexual offenses and murders that was used by Dominique Pellicot to recruit men to rape his wife, has allegedly been relaunched, okay? It says Coco.dg was shut down in France in 2024 after a year-long legal procedure. The platform has been linked to more than 23,000 criminal cases, including child pornography, homophobic murders, and mass rape of Giselle Pelicot. This is connected to this little girl, who, by the way, is fictional. That is a fictional little girl. But you know who wasn't fictional? This little girl right here. And that fucked up piece of shit man who raped and murdered this little girl. So I want you to keep that in mind, that this doesn't just exist on the internet with disgusting human beings making disgusting content of a fake little girl. It exists in real life where men kidnap little girls and do disgusting, horrible things to them. So let's just really lock in right now. And if this is too much, please walk away from this segment, because God knows it's been weighing on me as I've been thinking about how to present it to you. Okay? So first, let's bring in this TikTok here to give you the rundown on the gaming community.
A pedo. If you're attracted to children in video games, you're a pedo. And if you're into lolly, you're a pedo. If you're attracted to children in video games, you're a pedo. And if you're one of the people online defending people who do stuff like this, saying things like, oh, it's not that serious, or oh, it's just a joke, or even stupider, you're just saying, oh, it's just dark humor, you're a pedo defender, and there's no other way to label yourself. Recently, Capcom released this new game called Pragmata, where you play as a guy in a robot suit, and he becomes a father figure to this little girl who's an android. Everything I've seen from this game so far looks really good. A lot of people are saying it's a really amazing game. Can't wait to play it. That should be the end of it, right? Should be no drama, right? Wrong, because before the game even officially released, you had tons and tons of weirdos flocking to this game, not because they were so interested in the gameplay or the story, but because they were so interested in sexualizing the little girl character Diana. It actually got so bad to the point that people who were working as moderators in the subreddit legit just gave up. Like, they were like, they can't be moderators for the subreddit anymore. They just had to quit because they were seeing so much messed up stuff of people sexualizing the little girl character all up and down the subreddit, and they were like, they just just couldn't keep up with trying to censoring it and trying to block it off the subreddit. And the internet is such an unbelievable place because only on the internet can I show you this image right here and someone will feel confident enough to comment and say, yo, I am not a predator or a pedo because I find this little girl character attractive. And if you think I am, something's wrong with you. And not only will they feel confident enough to say that, they will have people who will defend it. They will have people who will defend these people saying things like, well, it's not a real little girl, so, you know, they're not actually a pedo, or, oh, it's actually not even a little girl in the game. It's an android. It's a robot. The internet is so unbelievable, bro. These people are predators, and like the culture that people have built around video games, allowing these people, not just video games, anime, like the culture online that y'all have made to allow these people to feel comfortable, to make them feel like they're actually sane and not predators and not pedos and what they actually are, bro, y'all are insane.
Insane. So let me just show you a little video gameplay of the little girl.
The more I'm around you, the more you seem like a real kid. I wonder how many bots like you are hanging around here.
Not many, because I'm specially made. I'm DI-03367, a state-of-the-art pragmatic created here at the Cradle.
Here you go again. Diana, I heard you, all right?
Okay, here's another one.
You got me.
Okay, so you have some idea. Just like a cute kid, it's supposed to be like a father-daughter game. It's supposed to be like, you know, sweet. And listen, I think men get to exist in a world where they also get to dream about being fathers and father figures. The dilemma is that people are turning this to a daddy moment. And this is why I say to you, being a father and being a daddy on the internet is a very different role. And the fact that people want to be her daddy is the problem. And by the way, this plays into real life. Real life. This doesn't just exist on the internet. This isn't just she's a robot, she's animated. It transfers over to little girls like Athena who were killed. This little girl, this is the last picture. It was a video, a last snippet of this little girl before this man raped her and killed her, strangled her to death. Huge trigger warning from this moment forward, okay? Let's learn a little bit about the case.
Today in the Athena Strand trial, the judge warned everyone in the courtroom, if you can't handle graphic evidence, leave now. And many did. Prosecutors played surveillance clips from Tanner Horner's FedEx truck. We are going to play some excerpts of that video shared today, but we want to be clear, we are not sharing any video or sound of the violent encounters. Athena's parents left the courtroom before the kidnapping footage was shown. The video shows Horner pull up to the house, look around, then get out. A few minutes later, he walks back toward his van with Athena following behind him. She looks inside the van. He picks her up and puts her in and shuts the door. Inside, Athena asks him over and over, "Are you a kidnapper?" He tells her not to scream or he'll hurt her. This image was taken right before Horner covers the camera. We can still hear them talking though. And at one point, Horner tells her, "You're really pretty. You know that?" The van stops and starts a few times. At one point, jurors hear Horner tell Athena to take her shirt off. Grueling audio captures Athena's struggles with Horner on and off for over an hour. After the attack, Horner is seen cleaning the van and telling people he got sick from lunch. He zips up a backpack that investigators would later find, then goes home, while crews are still searching for Athena. Athena's father spoke to the jury before all this. He wanted them to know more about his little girl, that she loved the movie Frozen and sang the soundtrack 24/7. But she also loved to play in the dirt. Listen to this, the last moment he saw her alive, just hours before he'd find out she was kidnapped.
As I was leaving, I was backing up, she ran up to the truck because she wanted to give me another hug.
Athena's dad said he hopes jurors, quote, make the right decision. That jury returns Wednesday. The judge says that's when the defense begins their case.
Here's footage of Tanner in court. They're showing in court the footage of inside of his truck. Apparently this is him touching like her backpack or something. So here's just after the fact. His body language is like, it's so calm, it's almost disjointed. It's so weird. Okay, here's a rundown of the case.
For 3 days to listen to what the jury will hear from the defense team's experts. Horner's lawyers laid out a portrait of a man they say is deeply impaired but still responsible for what he did. A forensic psychiatrist told the court Horner has several diagnoses, including ADHD, depression, substance abuse, and is on the autism spectrum. She says those conditions affect how he processes situations and why he is not empathetic about what he did. She testified his mental health issues are not.
Okay, obviously I'm a diagnosed autistic woman. That's bullshit. That is not why he's not empathetic for what he did. And that's really fucking dangerous to say about autistic and ADHD people and depressed people. That is so fucked up, and the ableism in this case is disgusting. So just for the record, the reason I was so angry about this case is not only did this beautiful little girl die, not only did she get brutalized by this fucking ugly man, but on top of that, now they're blaming his autism diagnosis? Absolutely fucking not. His ADHD depression diagnosis? Absolutely fucking not. Do not even associate us with that. We do not, that is not a part of what's happening. And that is really fucked up and ableist that you're even associating those two things together.
Not an excuse for what he did to Athena, but explain how mental health causes him to make bad decisions. Horner told multiple defense experts about how he killed Athena and tried multiple times to strangle and smother her. After his arrest, Horner told detectives his alter ego named Zero.
Yeah, Chet says, is the whole Trump cabinet about to come out as autistic and ADHD now? Don't even make this about a diagnosis like that. That is not what happened.
Killed Athena, not him.
Now he's saying he has an alter ego and that killed Athena. Your body did it. You did it. Okay? He might have an underlying issue, but this is not to be put on the diagnosis. The diagnosis is not why he did it. Okay? The why you do it is very specific. Unless he can prove that he absolutely lost consciousness, was in psychosis, that's one thing. But you see in this video evidence, that's not what's happening. And he confessed to his mother that that wasn't what was happening. I'll play it in a second.
But the defense's own experts say he lied about that and made up the alter ego. And he does not have multiple personality disorder.
And even if you did, I know so many DID people that are fantastic participants of society. They're doing the best they can. And how dare you throw them under the bus because you decided to murder a little girl?
Or is bipolar. Tomorrow, the jury will be back in court and they will hear from some.
Okay, let me show you this video. This is audio of him calling his mother to tell her what he did.
Hello? Hello? You okay? Not really. You want to tell me what happened? I pulled into this driveway and all that stuff. I was pulling forward and I was backing. Up, and then I hit this little girl. I know she was crying.
Fuck, I keep muting myself. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me rewind this for us. Sorry, my bad. So the audio is pretty bad, so I'll try to read it to you as well.
I pulled into this driveway and all that.
I pulled into this driveway and all that stuff, and I was pulling forward and I was backing up.
I was pulling forward and I was backing up, and then I hit this little girl.
And I hit this little girl. I know she was crying, and I tried calming her down.
I know she was crying. I tried calming her down. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
My thoughts were, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job.
So then he was panicking. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job.
Everything started
The mom says, oh, Tanner.
I didn't know what to do, Mom.
I didn't know what to do, Mom.
Did she die on her own?
Did she die on her own? The mother asks, did she die on her own?
No. Oh my God.
And he says no.
FBI was here.
Apparently the mother knows how he gets and knows her son had problems, which is why I say It is mothers, it is parents, it is family members who do nothing, which is why I will not be quiet about what my brothers have done, because every chance I gave them personally to not make it worse and to seek recovery, they chose not to. And who are the two people defending them the most? My parents. And who are they not talking to right now because they refuse to hold my brothers accountable? Me. And who's the most annoying person in the family right now? Me. Who do they blame for all of this? Me. Because I'm the one who's causing a problem, even though they were the ones who did what they did. And this is why I say it is your family members. It is your community. It is people who know there's something going on and they do nothing about it. So I will continue to be the most annoying person in the family, and I will continue to bring it up every time someone mentions it. And I will not let it be casual or let people, nothing. I'm sick of it, because this is exactly what happens. All my life, conservatives said, if children came forward, they would protect them. Well, the children came forward and they were not protected. So make it make sense. And I swear to God, even if one of my brothers did this, I swear my parents would say he was possessed by demons. This is what porn does to people. Instead of actually just holding the men accountable for the way they feel entitled to little girls' bodies. Instead of just holding them fucking accountable.
They ransacked the hall. They ransacked your place back there.
The task force, the FBI, they ransacked your place.
They searched up everything.
They searched up everything, so. Tanner, I just hope you do nothing weird to that little girl. Tanner, I just hope you do nothing weird to that little girl. Doesn't she already know she's dead? She knows Athena died. He just told her. Tanner, I hope you do nothing weird to that little girl. The fuck? He said I didn't. I didn't do that. Okay, I didn't think you did. I didn't do anything like that, he said.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so. I didn't think you were a pervert. Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did. I love you, and I'm so sorry this happened. Oh, she knows. So it's okay for him to murder Athena, but it's not okay. Make it make sense. It's okay for him to murder Athena, but it's not okay for him to, do you know what I'm saying? He just admitted he killed her. I'm so sorry this happened. I'm sorry you did. Well, there's some sadness for Athena. I'm so sorry you did that to this little girl.
That poor baby. I know. I want you to pray for her.
I want you to pray for her and her family. I'm so sick of the fucking religious acting like they care.
And her family.
No, Chat says she thinks he hit her with his truck, right? That's what he said. I hit her with my truck. And then she said, did she die on her own? And he goes, no. So she knows Athena didn't die from getting hit by the truck. The implication is that he killed her, right?
Doesn't have a backup camera. Well, it has a backup camera, but it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for like 2 months.
I love you, and I'm sorry this happened. Please pray for that lady and pray for her family. And
who called 911 on him? Was it the mom? That's what I want to know. Or no, did they catch him?
Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself.
Don't hurt yourself.
Be strong, okay?
It's so disgusting. But I think it's all connected. I think this is all connected to, this video game being sexualized, this little girl in this video game being sexualized, right? To the website that, oops, where is it? Hello? To this website being reinstated, right? To the fact that Athena, this picture will haunt me for, I don't even know how many more years of my life, maybe all of my life. This picture will haunt me. And now for them to bring in autism and ADHD, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Okay? Now, I want to talk about this because this also coincides with the recent story of the father who killed 7 of his own children and 1 extra, so 8 kids total. And I want you to understand that at the end of a man's action, so ruthless are the survivors, right? Are the survivors, right? So I want you to hear from this lady we heard from yesterday, right? This is Tabitha Taylor. This is the Shreveport I feel like I'm definitely saying that wrong. City council member. Just listen to what she's saying, because I think this is really important about domestic violence.
Think about the mothers that are the survivors, because there are 3 mothers at this point. One is in surgery at this time, that are going to be faced with immense pain, that's going to need all of us, the community long-term counseling, the father that is left here to grieve their child. And I want you to remember that more than anything, because it's people first. It's not your stories, it's not who posted first, it's them. It's all about them. And that as a community, as a nation in this country, and for all of the accolades that we have received here, the prayers of support from Canada, from Belgium, that I want you to understand that domestic violence is nobody's joke. It is real, and these are the residual effects of what happens. I want you to think about.
And then I want to end on this story here. I've been following Miss Aisha. She's really interesting. She's been talking about recoverability in abusers, and specifically in male abusers, and whether or not therapy can help them. She kind of does advocacy work that says, no, therapy is not going to help an abusive man. And I think if I want to if I want to speak for myself, I would say what I hear from her message, right, is that therapy cannot help people who don't want to get better, and abusive men who feel entitled to your bodies will not get better. Like this man, Tanner, killing Athena, like how disgusting and entitled do you have to be? An hour of struggle. I would not have been able to be in that jury. I'll just tell you this right now. Like, imagine her fighting for her life. Oh, just horrible. Anyways.
An abusive relationship. I really believe that when I was in an abusive relationship, I really believe that the reason why my partner at the time was abusive to me, was hitting me, was throwing me up against walls, I believed he was doing that because he had mental health issues. And I'm a mental health professional, and I fell prey to one of the biggest myths in domestic violence, which is that men who are abusive have mental health issues. And he was ex-military, so I assumed that he had PTSD. He talked about childhood trauma. And because I'm a therapist, he really weaponized my compassion and my profession against me, and would say to me, well, if you don't believe I can change, then your entire profession is a joke.
Pause. That's the Sykkuno of it all, right? The Sykkuno of it all. Every man that I have ever tried to help will say, how dare you give up on me? How can you give up on me? Aren't you the philosophy girl? Don't you believe in therapy? Aren't you the girl who says everyone can get better? Yeah, everyone who can get better if you try. But see how you put it on me? See how you put it on the community? You see how it's always at the expense of women and little girls and little boys? Like, that's the problem. Is like, yeah, we think you can get better, but you don't want to get better, and then you're blaming us. And that's why I say, do not let Sykkuno get away with this. Do not let these men constantly get away with this. Do not let anyone blame it on anything. You made a decision impacted by your biological experience, but you still did it. Your body still did it. You are a threat to the safety of the community. You need to be put in a facility, an ethical facility, because I have a problem with prison systems, but you cannot be allowed to be outside because you have proven, when given freedom, you take it out on children. You take it out on the vulnerable. You take it out on your family. You take it out on people who depend on you. So no, you can't just be a part of society in that particular way. And yet I say to society, do yourself a service and do not dream of torture. Do not dream of wanting to do evil things to these people, so you do not have it on your own conscience. Do not put this on your spirit. Do not put this on your hands. Do not put this on your mind. Do not put this on your thoughts. We don't need to become ugly because they are ugly, but we must center our protection on the vulnerable. We must protect children, and we must understand that we live under a patriarchal system that comes at the expense of boys and girls just the same, but children specifically. Okay?
And how are you even practicing a profession against me, and would say to me, well, if you don't believe I can change, then your entire profession is a joke. Then how are you even practicing if you don't believe people can change? You have to give me time. Let me go to therapy. Let me take medication. He did go to therapy and he did take medication and he still beat me.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I had to...
Exactly. He did do the work. He did do the things and it didn't matter. Now, this is why I say introspection is like eating a cupcake. It's like eat the cupcake, bro. I'm giving you all of the resources because I believe like at least 80% of the population, if they just had the right resources, would be better people. But I think for a small percentage, and the small percentage, by the way, is uplifted by the other percentage who won't get help. Because other people aren't getting help, men as a whole aren't getting help, they will support the abusers. That's why men are supporting Sykkuno. It's why men are supporting abusers. It's why men support Trump. And then women follow because women uphold the patriarchy. So I understand. And then, of course, we're victimized by it, but then we justify it because we're like, we do want to help. We do want to love these people. So it's very layered. And I understand that this is a very complex issue. But you know what's not complex? The fact that you and your body did this thing. So now we have to decide, how do we come to the conclusion on whether or not you were safe enough to be brought back into society? And what does that even look like? Because how can I trust you at certain points, given all of the resources, you keep making these bad decisions? Now, I have a lot of empathy for this because I couldn't imagine being born with a different brain or a different body or a different biological predisposition. I could imagine, being in that position. But what I do know is that if you want to make amends for the people that you have hurt, then you must act differently. And you must stop blaming people for what your body does and what your actions do. It doesn't matter what your diagnosis is. It doesn't matter what anything else is. And I do think for the family members, this is a tragedy as well, because now the boys they raised, the men they married, they have to see them get locked up. And it's not always a peace-bringing activity. Sometimes it's more of a burden on the victims. So there's a layered perspective here that we have to think about, right?
Learn and understand when it hit me that he wasn't punching me in the face. At the time, I was on television. I talk about this all the time. In Las Vegas, I was on television several times a week talking about mental health issues. And he never punched me in the face. And so when I thought about it, and after I read the book, Why Does He Do That? He makes it seem, and men make it seem like they're out of their mind. But he's not out of his mind. He's making a conscious choice to hit me in places.
And I want to be clear. I don't think men are inherently abusive. I don't think there's a biological, I'm not a bioessentialist. Like, I don't think men are biologically predispositioned to be predators. I do think that all of these years of patriarchy and conditioning have absolutely impacted people for the negative. And both her and my chat are suggesting this book. So note to self. But I want to make it clear that I don't think men are inherently evil. But I think the world is evil, and I think we make evil men because we raise evil children, and then we don't give these kids any chance to be anybody else because we're too tired, and for us it's another Tuesday, and we're exhausted, and then these kids, it's their whole childhood, and they're not guided. Like, children eventually become adults. That's why you have to focus all of your resources on children. That's why this administration, the Trump administration, saying they give a fuck about families, conservatives saying they give a fuck about families, but they're not doing anything to keep families intact. They're not doing anything to keep families educated. They're not doing anything to help families pay for housing and groceries. They don't care about families. They love to see families torn apart. They love it so much that right now, military soldiers are protesting this government because their husbands are deployed in places they don't want to be right now, like Iran. These military soldiers, which we can talk about, they shouldn't have signed up in the first place, but they don't even want to be there. And their family is protesting to bring them home. And that's the problem. They don't care about your family. They don't. But then I have to beg the question if you even care about your family too. Because you keep having babies, you keep bringing children into the universe, you keep dating these men, you keep dating these women. And the question is, when is it our responsibility? Always. When is it your fault? Never. It is not your fault for being with an abuser. It is your responsibility, though, for recognizing when you're bringing kids into that bubble, when you're bringing kids into that reality, because now you have brought a vulnerable person into this world with this abuser. And I still say to you, you are not at fault for your abuse. And yet we are all responsible for how the way that the world is. But yet, and this is the insidious part of patriarchy, the victims will be blamed with the most, and they will be given the most responsibility. We will be more responsible for believing our abusers than the abusers will be for being abusive. And that's bullshit. And that's bullshit. So do not get my words twisted. I did never want to signal to people that you need to victim blame. No one is being blamed. Everybody is responsible. And I want to encourage you and let you hear this woman's words. Let you hear her so deeply in your soul, it changes you today. He is who he is. If he was going to be someone else, he would have been. The only person you can bank on is the person they are right now in this moment. When I stopped dating for potential, the most significant thing in my life changed, which was I was able to bring people into my life that were better. And specifically, I picked a partner who I would be fine if they were this way forever. Obviously, we'd always grow, but I didn't, for once in my life, I didn't date for potential, and I'm married to the greatest person. I've had the best marriage. It's been a great experience. But every time before that, I always dated for potential. And every time before that, I was let down, no matter a person's gender, no matter their gender. I was always dating for potential. Oh, one day they'll grow out of this. One day they'll be better. We're so young now. Maybe they'll change. And I was waiting for those people to change. If you can date someone for their most present self, you will have the realization that this isn't someone who's just suffering. This is someone who, this is who they are right now, right?
That people can't see.
I'm gonna
out of
rewind
their
it.
mind. But he's not out of his mind. He's making a conscious choice to hit me in places that people can't see. So that when I get up and put on my makeup and go on TV, everyone sees a smiling therapist. They don't see an abused therapist. And what I had to learn was that he was doing exactly what he wanted to do. And at one point, he said to me that when I disagree with him, he feels attacked. And he feels like he has every right to defend himself. And that blew my mind, and it caused me to do a lot of more research and training in domestic violence. And also my sociology part kicked in, and I started to think more deeply about patriarchy and the way that it gets men to think, the way it shapes their thinking. And that's one of the reasons why therapy is not effective. And what my ex would say to me.
P.S. I think it's really interesting that the book you guys are recommending, also the author might have controversies. I just Googled it. And apparently there's a chance they actually are abusive as well. So isn't that the irony? Isn't that the irony? Read the book, see what you can get from it, but be careful of who you trust. Because even a predator or even an abusive person can write an amazing book. That doesn't make the person a good person, right? So amazing. I just read a post on Reddit that said, this book saved me from a 20-year abusive relationship. It's so sad to hear this about this author. So again, just focus on that. Focus on learning what you can. You don't have to put people on a pedestal because they wrote something that made sense to you or they made a video that made sense to you. Don't worship the person. Focus on the ideas.
Was me having an opinion was disrespectful. Me saying no, I could never say no to this man. Me saying no to him was disrespecting his authority as the man of the house.
Gender needs to be deconstructed exactly. So first he says, oh, if this is your job, you can't abandon me. That's the weaponization. That really works because it's like, fuck, this is my job. How could I abandon you? That feels really bad. 2, you can't question me because then I feel attacked. And then I'm a man, so you especially can't attack me. You see?
It was my house.
Oh,
it was my house.
It was her house.
But he's saying that it doesn't matter who owns the home. I am the man and I'm the one who makes decisions. And anytime you disagree, you're going to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why domestic violence is not a mental health issue is because men who are abusive to women are having very clear, very organized, very intentional choices and decisions to harm and punish women. When women say and do things that they disagree with, you don't have the right to make autonomous decisions for yourself when you are with men like this. They feel like they have dominion and power over you. And if you say no, they're going to punish you until you do exactly what they want you to do. And if you still don't do what they want you to do, then they feel entitled to take your life. They don't feel bad about it. There is no treatment for them. And I need the connection of domestic violence and mental health to stop.
I would say it's more related to philosophical health, which could be mental health. So I do think society makes abusers. I don't think it's always true that every abusive action is necessarily how you're raised. I think a lot of us are raised in really abusive homes and don't carry on that abusive activity. And I also think that some people, had they been raised in different homes, wouldn't have been this person. So, when we talk about free will, what does that even mean when children are born into houses, into cultures where they just think something is normal, right? Or they just think this is how people are. This is what you're supposed to do. When I see children, especially bully kids to death, that is so interesting to me. How does a child think to itself, I'm going to bully this person to death? Unless they have seen it, unless they have been reinforced in that social behavior. So I do think there's some level of it that I would call mental health, and I would call it philosophical lacking. I agree that it's not like a mental illness. Like, it's not like, oh, I have PTSD, so I have to kill you. It's more like, because I have PTSD, I might do actions that I'd rather not. So we have to create a system that protects you. An example, I knew a man who had PTSD, and he couldn't sleep in the same bed as his wife because his nightmares were so bad he would hit her. So they used to sleep separately, right? And that, for me, is him looking out for her. That's him saying, I love you. We have to sleep in separate beds because I'm having nightmares. You shouldn't have to suffer. Versus, I think an abusive man would have said, no, you're my wife. You have to sleep in the same bed as me. And even though I wrestle in my sleep, how dare you hold that against me? I'm sick. I have PTSD. And to me, that's the distinction. How do I protect the people in my life against even these feelings of I lack power? Like, if my body's going to do something I don't want it to do, how do I make sure that I don't hurt people because of it, right? And when you don't take that into consideration, that's where the choice comes in. Then it feels like a choice. So you had the choice to protect me and you chose otherwise for what? Your ego? That's the abusive element. And so that's where I would say, I think for me, when I hear her work, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that it's not mental health that he makes, like, if he had made her sleep in the bed, that's not mental health. That's a choice. It wasn't mental health that deliberately chose to beat this woman, except her face, knowing she'd be on TV. Okay? And this is why, if you go back and revisit Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, as we did in this community, you will see how Johnny weaponizes the abuse. He weaponizes the, I'll get better, I promise I'll get better. When he kicks Amber in the plane and the assistant apologizes, right? And it's, again, Johnny didn't mean it. Johnny didn't mean it. He didn't mean to hit you. He didn't mean to do it. And then Amber's like, okay, well, it felt pretty on purpose. And it's like, no, he didn't mean to do it. Okay, at what point do you mean to do it? At what point? You know, it's like Sykkuno having multiple cheating situations and him saying it was a mistake. At what point are you just going to say, I made a decision, it was not a mistake, it was on purpose, I did it with my full chest and it was wrong? They can't, because they can't see themselves for what they are. And then, because they can't see themselves for what they are, the victims can't see it either, because the victims are convinced, no, it's his childhood, he was hurt. I mean, I had these conversations time and time again with my ex, where I was like, and I would talk to people in his life and they're like, yeah, he had a really rough childhood. It was really hard. And yet he was distinctly different from everybody else in his family. Everybody else in his family who also engaged or had the abuse happen to them, right? Were functional, had jobs, had a life, had good families, were very nice people, were very kind. He was the oddball. And I would try to point it out to them, like, hey, do you see how he's weird? And they'd be like, yeah, but they wouldn't understand it either, because nobody can get it. Nobody can understand the scope of having the realization that somebody you birthed into existence, or somebody you're brothers with, or somebody you're family with, or somebody you love, is, no matter how hard you try to give them the cupcake, they won't eat it. So on this channel, we talk about eating the cupcake. There are just some people who refuse, even when they're starving in the desert, to eat the cupcake. And when you're dealing with those people, they are incredibly dangerous, because they are the people who, regardless of resources, regardless of help and intervention, will never get better. And the question is, who are those people and what do we do with them? I think we should never sink down to their level. I think we should never torture them. I think we should never be cruel to them. What we should be focused on is getting them the help they need and keeping them away from people they can harm. So you are not entitled to hurt these people because they hurt people. And yet, I don't think it just happened in a vacuum. I don't think these human beings who are abusive popped into existence and were like, I'm abusive. They were a child at some point, and at some point, something went wrong. And the question is, what can we do as a society to protect children while they're young and give them some sort of safety net, some sort of research, some sort of intervention to make sure they do not grow up into abusers? And then how do we protect people who are already meeting these people as grown-ups and saying to them, you are in an abusive relationship? And this is why I caution people from saying, oh, cheating's not abusive. It is abusive. You cannot deliberately manipulate your partner into thinking everything's okay. Okay? It is abusive. I understand there are situations you're probably thinking about where it's like, I was in an abusive relationship and the relationship was over for me, so I slept with someone else. Okay, girl, well then you're not in a relationship, are you? When I say cheating is abuse, it's obviously from a perspective of somebody who thinks they're in a relationship. Somebody who thinks they can trust their spouse. Somebody whose spouse is going behind their back to deceive them, manipulate them, and take advantage of them. That's what I mean when I say cheating is abusive. I'm not talking about people that are like, oh, we're separated but not divorced. Well, then you're not cheating. You're not together. Cheating is a deliberate decision to break a promise you've made to stay within the confines or restrictions of the relationship, and you went outside the boundary. That's what cheating is, okay? Cheating is not just this like, oh, he looked at a girl, oh, he held a hand with a person. I'm talking about deliberate, manipulative, on purpose cheating, like Sykkuno did. Okay? That's very important for this conversation for people to understand, because I think what happens is someone will say, oh, like you cheated, and they'll just imagine like, oh, he liked a picture on Instagram, and everyone's like, whoa. And it's like, okay, just everybody calm down. Okay? You can talk about boundaries, but when I'm talking about cheating, I am talking about deliberate manipulation at the expense of your partner when you know for a fact that this will shatter them if they find out. You are doing something that is deeply cruel. You are lying. You are deceiving. You are introducing possible STIs into the relationship, maybe even a pregnancy down the line. This is what I am talking about. And no, it is not romantic and it is not cute. And I'm sick of seeing it in TV like it's so casual. Cheating, affairs, infidelity, including financial and emotional. Okay? I tell my partner every day, we go over all of the time, every time we see a TikTok, we go over boundaries in this marriage, because my love is unconditional, but me staying is not. And same for them. At the end of the day, if either of us are abusive, we hold the right to not only get divorced, but to feel justified and good about that. Okay? Chess says, how do you think emotional cheating plays into this? I'm not sure exactly your question, so you can expand upon it. But I'm thinking more or less, emotional cheating is like taking vulnerabilities that you would rather share in a marriage into some other relationship with somebody else because you're living a fantasy so hard with your like online boyfriend that you don't give it to your marriage, and the person who's expecting it from you, who's ready to receive it, who's doing right by you, isn't getting it, right? Then it's a deception that is heavy and has a lot of consequences, because we have to assume the person who's being cheated on is a good person. We have to assume that. Because if they're not good people and you're cheating on somebody who's an abuser, then we could argue the nuance of the cheating is different. But usually when I say cheating on your partner's abuse, we're assuming the partner is good. We're assuming they didn't deserve it. We're assuming like, why would you cheat on your partner? Because it doesn't make sense. Okay? And you can't, and then it feels like abusers, what they'll do is they'll tell people, oh, this person's cheating on me. Like we saw with the Gerhardt story. Okay, he felt entitled to killing Ariel with a rock, which thank goodness he didn't end up completing that murder, right? Because witnesses came and saved her because she was simply talking to a coworker that he felt was inappropriate. Instead of sitting down and creating boundaries and having the conversation. That is different. That is how abusers weaponize partners seeking friendship and companionship outside of marriage to a different degree. You can call it cheating in your marriage, but I'm assuming you've talked to your spouse about it. There was nothing that said that they had really talked about what was happening. That is not the same thing as somebody who's deliberately going behind their partner's back, talking about leaving the relationship. Okay. I'll give you an example. One of my brothers had like what he calls an emotional affair with a 17-year-old. And I say, I don't have any proof you didn't get physical with this girl, but I'll tell you this right now. This was boundary crossing, texting her, I love you. I'm going to leave my wife and kids for you. We're going to be together. Orchestrating sleepovers to make sure she was at the house, right? Sneaking off and writing love letters and text messages. They claimed it was only an emotional affair. And that's why everyone in the family downplayed it, except she was 17 and he was 36. So what are we downplaying it for? Oh, it was emotional, Brittany. It was emotional. It was highly predatory and extremely abusive. And everybody suffered because of it. And then people go, oh, but it was just emotional. First of all, we don't know that. You say it was, but we don't know that. And second of all, right, the downplay, oh, but like they saved their marriage and it's over. The victim was a dick tease. Quote from my parents, the victim was a dick tease. The 17-year-old victim. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. No more. No more. No more are we going to tolerate excusing abusive behavior because it doesn't, quote, fit the threshold for what you consider abusive. Because even when children in my family, as young as 5 and 6-year-old, came forward with other family members, they were considered a part of the problem? Well, the predator was invited to the get together. I will never let it go. How many people, countless people in my family, have been with children or engaged with children, and in the name of culture, we have maintained a sort of nobody talk about it. I'm so fucking sick of it. My grandma married at 10 years old. I'm so fucking sick of it. I'm tired. You're tired. We're all tired. It's abusive. It's predatory. You were purposely engaging with children. You were singling them out. You were lying and deceiving them. And then to blame these children, I'm so sick of it. So no. Even though I unconditionally love my family, the us interacting is conditional. And this is my condition. And this is the problem. So, I know this is a heavy segment, but I promise you it all connects. I promise you it all connects. And you know why, by the way, do you know what my mother, who upholds patriarchy and has internalized misogyny to a T, says? He never would have done this. He, insert 3 of the names I can mention, 4 of the names I could mention to you, 5 of the names I could mention to you. He did this because of porn. If porn didn't exist, he wouldn't have done this. Girl, don't talk to me about porn right now. Don't talk to me about the porn industry right now. And that's the problem. Oh, the demons, the porn. I'm so fucking sick of religious people for pretending that it's never the fault of the person who does it. And this is what I'm saying, how casual we are to bring babies into the universe. How casual we all are to drop our kids at people's houses. And so listen, my farm brother, who has a very strict policy of who can be alone with his kids and basically no one. People, I understand it's a little extreme, but honestly, at this point, fuck it. It's not, again, I think it's a little much, but also I'm glad that he's at least trying because he's sick of it. I'm sick of it. We're all sick of it. And God forbid anybody ever touches my nieces and nephews. God forbid, I will, you know what I'm saying? So I would rather my brother be super strict, okay? And there's always this problem where, yes, it hurts people's feelings, but at some point, we don't know who it is because we already know it was family before. So who's it going to be next time? And I'm sick of it. So yes, in the future, I think there would be, quote, people the kids could be safe with, quote, blah, blah, blah. But more than anything, at least he's trying because God knows nobody else in the family is. Okay? And that's the problem. So again, when I cover these stories, the reason I am so passionate is because I've seen the end results of ignoring men's predatory behavior. It always ends up with children and women being the victims. And I'm sick of it. And we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to tolerate it. And watch all your favorite YouTubers defend these men. Watch all the people who sit there and go, what's wrong with this YouTuber? What's wrong with this YouTuber? Be very fucking careful. And be very careful of your favorites with microphones who everyone keeps ignoring all of the behavior they are given. And let me tell you, this is why I'm not surprised if anything comes out about these people. Because you are doing nothing to change your ways. You're not doing anything to say, oh, that's how we were in 2010. We're not going to do that anymore in 2026. But it's 2026 and people are still doing it. So be careful, because I got a comment today I even blocked. And they're like, oh, Brittany's acting like she didn't do this years ago. XY, insert thing here, oversharing things about her sex life. It's 2026. Am I doing it now? No, I haven't done it in like 6 years. I've tried really hard for the last 3-4 years to double down, triple down, and make sure that I am not oversharing with my audience, to make sure I am showing up professional, right? But isn't it interesting that they are going for somebody who changed, but then they won't go for the guys who are still doing it in 2026? That's the point. If you're still doing it in 2026, do not talk about me who hasn't done it in years. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Okay? And remember that. Remember, women will always be held more accountable than any of these men, because that's what patriarchy does. That's what patriarchy does. So annoying. So annoying. Okay, let me show you this. This is what I want to end on. This is crazy to me. How quickly people forget. Truly. So recently the Pope Leo, who we're not a fan of the Catholic Church, but is a former Catholic, okay? I've been very amused at the way Catholics are responding to Pope Leo. Pope Leo basically says, stop what you're doing in Iran and everywhere else. It's unethical, right?
The world is being ravaged by a handful of tyrants, It is held together by a multitude of supportive brothers and sisters. The masters of war pretend not to know that it takes only a moment to destroy. Yet often, a lifetime is often not enough to rebuild. They turn a blind eye to the fact that billions of dollars are spent on killing, on devastation, yet the resources needed for healing, education, and restoration are nowhere to be found. Those who rob your land of its resources generally invest much of the profit in weapons, thus perpetuating an endless cycle of destabilization and death. The world is being ravaged.
So obviously, I want to see you do something about the pedophiles in your fucking church. So get on that, brother. Okay. Sean Hannity, piece of shit, Sean Hannity, evil piece of shit, Sean Hannity, said this.
With a message to, I do want to shift gears with a message to the Vatican tonight, specifically to Pope Leo, who has openly condemned America's war in Iran while seemingly enjoying a public fight with President Trump. First, let me give some context. Like millions of Americans, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I even attended a seminary in high school, studied theology, Latin, went to Mass daily. But as of today, I no longer consider myself a Catholic. Where are the pointed words for Iran, this evil regime, the #1 state sponsor of terror?
Bye, leave. Nobody wanted you. Look at all these Catholics going like the pedophilia. I can tolerate pedophilia, but I crossed the line at peace. I crossed the line at anti-war rhetoric. Oh, look, this is Hassan's favorite buddies. This is Hassan's best friends.
The Pope is going to hell. He's a woke piece of shit. And he's not Christian. He's not Christian. He's on the side of the Islamics, and that makes him evil as shit. And as far as I'm concerned, the Pope is going to fucking hell.
So, as a Catholic, you believe the Pope is
fallible,
closer to God, or Donald Trump is closer to God
than the Pope,
than the guy who's getting messages from Jesus to deliver to his people. Okay.
Yeah, the Pope.
Oops,
he's not getting messages.
Right? Isn't that what
Jesus.
a Pope is? Like they're basically the voice of God for
no, they're
people?
supposed to be for Christianity
to save people,
and he's not in Christianity. He's in Islam.
He wants to unite.
He's an Islamic motherfucker.
He wants to unite all faiths together, and that will never happen.
I want him to go to hell, closer to Jesus.
Okay, sounds good.
On him, the mental toll that
This is the wife of a deployed U.S. soldier.
it's taking on him and all of them, it is devastating to know that there's nothing you can do. You can't do anything. You just have to stay and listen and support as best as you can while holding everything in.
These are veterans protesting the war and getting arrested.
To be their support. That's what we're here, to be their support.
My sons are 11 and 13. But we all know from Iraq, from Afghanistan, a war that's 1 month, that becomes 6 months, that becomes 6 years, that becomes a decade. I can see where this is going. We heard the same promises and the same excuses and reasoning for the Iraq war that we're hearing today. And they're shifting constantly to justify our presence in the Middle East. And we're not fooled. We as veterans know better.
Congress are the ones who approve it. Where are they? They have that power to stop Trump's recklessness. They have that power, and I don't understand what in the world are they doing. For us civilians to have to come out here, all the way from California, to ask them to step up.
So if you guys can't see in the bottom frame here, they're being arrested.
Against Donald Trump, for them to do their job, it is absurd to me that they're not doing anything.
I personally am here for my sons. As a veteran, I know the harm that wars do to civilian populations, but also to our soldiers. I'm talking about the loss of life. I'm talking about injuries and lives changed forever. I'm talking about PTSD and moral injury, and that's why I'm here today.
So stop signing up. Well, I guess it's Middle East eye, so I could like it. But anyway, stop signing up for the military. Stop signing up. Okay, now here's the problem. Are you ready for this? Here's the irony. They recently did an interview with the former presidents, okay? Jenna Bush Hager, right? The daughter of George W. Bush, ends up doing interviews with the presidents. Look how quickly people forget. These comments, guys, these comments are littered with, I miss George W. Bush. I wish George W. Bush was back. I was never a Republican, but I miss the old Republicans. How little humans learn. How little we learn.
Sometimes it's the smallest gestures that have the biggest impact.
I get a little antsy, as I'm sure you know. And I was sitting next to Michelle. That's what happened. That's who I sit next to at funerals. And I was kind of teasing her and stuff. And I slipped her an Altoid. Not as a joke, but I thought she might want one. And I got in the car afterwards and he said, "You're trending." I didn't know what trending meant. And it turns out the country is starved to see a white center-right Republican and a African-American center-left Democrat having fun and being able to converse.
Thank you, chats. People are so desperate to go back to normal in quotations. Yes, they are. They're so desperate, they're missing George W. fucking Bush.
Not as political figures, but as citizens.
Oh,
and
brother.
I intend to continue to try to do that.
Can you believe how desperate we must be that we are like, you know who I miss? George W. Bush. We are absolutely the problem. It's us. We're the problem.
That hope in our country?
I do. The first time I was on the national stage and I talked about hope. Hope in the face
He's such a baby here. I do. Wow, he's so little.
of difficulty.
Oh, man.
I reminded people hope is not blind optimism.
The audacity of hope.
Hope arises in the face of difficulty, in the face of uncertainty. And obviously we're going through some uncertain times. But when you look at the sweep of American history, we've gone through rough patches. And we tend to come out on the other side of them stronger.
Do you see that? What fucking White House propaganda is this? What the fuck White House propaganda is this bullshit? How easily we forget. And how fucking, what a, oh my God. Okay.
Proactively identify. The FBI is now proactively identifying domestic terrorists based on beliefs MAGA does.
Chet said, Rise Again said he's not a war criminal. He's just a little guy. That's sarcasm. Thank you. Appreciate you. Terrorist beliefs, according to the Trump administration, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. We're fucked. This is why I say to you, we're absolutely fucked. And remember that. Let me remember everything that I am telling you right now. So when I land on my last TikTok of the day, it all comes full circle.
Before a crime has ever been committed. That's what Trump's latest budget request to Congress reveals. After Charlie Kirk was killed, Trump used his death to justify expanding surveillance through his NSPM 7 directive. The order replaced the FBI's post 9/11 terrorism screening center with a new one, expanding potential domestic terrorism investigations by 300%, based on people's thoughts and opinions. The threatening thoughts, though, are just ideas MAGA disagrees with, beliefs and views protected by the First Amendment. But the Trump admin has unilaterally begun labeling those who hold these beliefs as Antifa terrorists, potentially allowing the government to access suspected citizens' communications without a warrant. And now Trump's latest budget request contains the biggest counterterrorism spending increase in years for this exact mission, to combine the power of 10 agencies to continue identifying those who disagree with their opinions on religion, gender, and capitalism. This isn't about left versus right. It's about how much power the federal government holds over us. If we continue to let the government decide which thoughts and opinions are acceptable and which make you a criminal suspect, we've already given up our constitutional freedoms. The FBI is now proactively identifying.
Obviously insane. Okay, I want to go back to two things. I want to show you this clip, and then I want to explain to you why I'm still hopeful. And it's not for the same reason Barack Obama's hopeful. Okay, here's this. I assume this is AI, right? Maybe this is animated. I don't know who made this, but look at this. It's a Attack on Titan reference, but it's not from the show. It's somebody made it.
Do you really think there were Titans 100 years ago? It seems crazy. I don't know if I buy it.
I don't know if they were actually shooting for historical accuracy.
Well, either way, I hope those 3 childhood friends were real.
Same here.
Okay. So it's kind of if you like Attack on Titan, it's kind of a cool idea. Like, oh, people in the future not realizing like Titans might have been real. Okay. The comment section is so fascinating to me, right? It said it should have been 2,000 years at minimum, because in what universe would people forget an event like the Rumbling is just 100 years, 500 years even? Like 2,000 years, there was a Roman Empire, and we sure didn't forget about that. The Holocaust just happened, and everyone is arguing whether or not Jews were killed. Like, the younger generation doesn't even believe in the Holocaust at the same rate. Human beings forget instantly. George W. Bush just did the Iraq War, and now we're in text messaging threads saying we miss him. How quickly we forget. And maybe that's a survival thing in our biology. Maybe evolution was like, hey, you really got to forget what happened, because otherwise you guys might be driven into insanity. So boop. Like, maybe it is truly just like we forgot teething and growing in our teeth as kids. Maybe we were supposed to forget what happened 10 years ago, so nobody would sit here and like have the, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, so I hear that and I see that. Now, why does Brittany have hope? Why does this philosophy girly you watch on YouTube have hope? I have hope because if humanity is going to be the same always, then we can really do something about it. See, I think what fucks us up is we keep thinking it will be different than what it is, and we actually end up being we have like a counter intuition about it. We do the wrong thing. We self-sabotage because we keep thinking, like, when you live for your boyfriend's potential, you keep thinking one day he'll change, instead of saying, oh, he's never going to change. Now I can really do something about my life. Now I can change. Because that's what we're doing. We keep living for the potential of humanity instead of accepting it for exactly what it is. And that is when the real change starts. So stop living for people's potential and start radically accepting it is the way it is and will always be this way. And only then can you start real change. You want to liberate your spirit. You want to liberate you. And if everybody else could do that, right? It's like with anything basic. You got to acknowledge you're an alcoholic to actually get sober, right? So that is why I have hope. I don't have hope because I think the world is in a better place. I have hope because I know for a fact people can change, because I've changed. I have the data. Now the question is, how do I encourage other people to go on that journey themselves without making a prescription? Because if I tell you, if I demand it of you, not only is that not going to help you, and are you probably going to PDA trigger, but people have been doing that for your whole life, right? People have been telling you what to do your whole life. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I think you already know what you have to do. And when you're ready, you're either going to do it or not, but I'm not going to wait around for you to figure it out, because you already know what you're supposed to do. You're just not ready to do it. And that is human beings right there. And since I don't think we're the center of the universe, I also don't think it matters if we, quote, exist. See, the problem is everyone is still so obsessed on whether or not human beings should be alive. You've forgotten to even accept that you don't even need to be here. You being alive has no bearing on the universe, on planet Earth. You are not a requirement for planet Earth's existence. You are not a requirement for the universe moving forward. That's another level of radical acceptance that humans aren't even ready for, because everything they do, even their sense of goodness, their right and wrong comes from the fact that, like, we have to protect humans. We should be protecting everybody. Everything. Every rock, tree, and creature. My commentary video coming up on this Tuesday, I recommend vegans don't watch it. It's about the sanctity of non-human animal life. And it's basically like why you should be vegan, probably. And I know that's funny coming from a non-vegan, but I mean, okay. And it really gets down to that. It really gets down to, can you value and respect life to such an extent that you really, really wrap your head around the fact that you exist and then you'll die? See, most of these people don't even know they'll die. They're still fighting for some mortality, for some immortality, for some reality where they don't end. Because if you really knew you were going to die, I would hope you would become more compassionate and less selfish. But instead, because I think people are clinging, they become hoarders. What are you hoarding your wealth for? You can't take it with you. But how many times are we going to learn about men who died with treasure around them? So silly. Humans are such a little silly species. What was the issue of Attack on Titan and people coming out of that not knowing if Eren was the bad guy? Eren was the bad guy. He was the bad guy. And the irony of Attack on Titan repeating the cycle, if you haven't seen the ending, watch through the credits, the cycle repeats. It doesn't matter that Eren did the rumbling. It's going to repeat. That's the point. You keep thinking, if I just destroy the planet, if I just kill all the bad people, there will be no more bad people. What does that make you? What does that make you to kill all the people? A bad person. You exist, don't you? That's why I say you can't become evil in order to fight evil. But how many movies are you going to watch where that's exactly the story? You're not willing to do what it takes. I'm the one who's willing to do what it takes. You're not willing to kill this guy, but I am. I'll kill this guy to save millions of people. Okay. What did that do? This is patriarchal propaganda. It is. And I think a lot of liberation movements are also, without even realizing it, parroting patriarchal movements of liberation, because they can't even start to realize that they're attached to the outcome through the means of violence. Because again, patriarchy is the only framework currently that is arguing that liberation happens through violence. That's why Netanyahu said, I'm better to be Genghis Khan than Jesus Christ. Better to be Genghis Khan than Jesus Christ. He would rather commit a genocide than live in a world where Israel isn't on top. There you go. That's what it is. Ooh, Chess says this makes me think of Fearin'. Apparently, I really got to watch it. My partner said it was really good. I'm going to get around to watching it. I got to get around to watching it. And by the way, guys, I didn't want to highlight it today, but you know how we covered, and I usually think well of Christian Divine, so this really isn't about Christian, but remember how we covered Christian and the 62 million men? Well, now, what's showing up on my TikTok feed? A bunch of men with crucifixes and crosses in their bios and American flags, parroting Christian talking points and saying, how dare you come for men? How dare you attack Christian? How dare you attack men just because they're being accurate? These women, these white liberals, that's what I keep hearing, these liberal feminist women with their ideology being so mad at Christian because Christian said the truth. Congratulations, Christian. You've got MAGA on your side. And that's why I say to you, be very careful about your need for accuracy when the only people that will be backing you through this process are going to... So they were afraid, Christian was afraid that these men were going to weaponize it. But now they're using Christian to justify their hate of feminism and their hate of these women and their victims. Good job, guys. Good job, humans. I get it, though. I've done it. You've done it. I watched an interview today with FD that, oh my God, I was like, man, everyone does it. FD does it. I do it. We have got to stop playing nice with these fucking losers. And we are doing it. I've done it. He's done it. We're all doing it. It was Deculturation brought it up in his critique of FD. It was with PF Chang, whatever. Oh my God, that guy's an idiot. That guy's such a fucking loser. Oh my God. It's insane. I was like, bro, talking about white tears and white people. And it's so hard to hear people say things about white, insane. And then, you sit here and you try to make a bridge with them. But the problem is they're not embodying, they're not getting it. They're not getting it. I used to think so too, though. I wanted to build bridges with people. I wanted to see if people could get it if I explained it to them. But let me share this one last TikTok and then I'll go. This is why I say to you, we are not logical creatures. We are emotional ones. I mean, if you were logical, I could just explain it to you and you would fucking get it. In the same way you could have explained it to me and I would have gotten it. But I didn't always get it when people explained it to me because I'm also an emotional creature. I'm also going through my own struggles. So I'm not saying... I just opened up this app. What the fuck? I just opened up this app. What is happening?
Ooh, wee. Hey, that boy, I'm the officer safety security manager, put it down. You know what I'm talking about, baby? You good over there?
Hello? I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. That was crazy. That should not be on TikTok. That's insane. Okay. Okay.
The only way that people make decisions is in an emotional way. It may be that you and I, who are scientifically minded, believe that we make decisions based on statistics, but ultimately for us, that is still an emotional story. We have an emotional relationship to data and mathematics and science. I think people are not persuaded by data and numbers, because if it was about data, you could show somebody the right combination of words and it would change their mind. And people do not work like that. When you look at situations where people are making choices that are maybe counter to their health or maybe counter to public health more generally, for a long time, people thought that all you needed to do was just give them information, that if you educated people to the correct level, that if you...
And I just want to say, when I say like you need to get educated, I mean you need to have an embodied relationship with the information you're receiving. It doesn't mean you just have to read books. Like, you can be well read and still not educated in a way that's embodied. You can be very educated. We've seen people with PhDs be the worst pieces of shit on the planet. So when I say educated, I mean embodied understanding of the work and really feeling and understanding it. And that's why I say you need to feel it in your body. It's like when autistic people go to therapy and say, oh, my therapist says I'm too self-aware for therapy. It's because you're intellectualizing it. You're not actually reaping the consequences of your choices. You're not feeling it in your body. You're not actually like understanding it or understanding someone else's perspective.
You put information out there, then that would be enough. But the problem with that idea is that it's called the deficit model because it's essentially saying that the only problem is that the public have a deficit of knowledge, right?
They just need the facts.
They just need the facts. And it is the most arrogant, insulting way to, I think, belittle people and to basically imagine that the only reason why somebody is not making the same decisions as you are is nothing to do with their worldview. It's nothing to do with their own version of reasoning, the things that are important to them. It's just because they don't know as much as you do.
This is The Rest is Science. This is Hannah and Vsauce, and they have this show together. It's kind of interesting. I watch it when it comes up on my TikTok. But that, just that narrative is one that I think we've already known. Because I mean, look at my own family. Look at the conservatives who say, we will protect children. Tell us if someone did something bad to you. And then the child comes up to the parent and says, hey, someone did something bad to me. And they go, oh, no, you were exaggerating. You probably weren't thinking about clearly. No, that couldn't have happened. Are you sure that happened? And I get it, because from some emotional standpoint, the realization that somebody in their own family or somebody they knew or somebody that they loved or somebody they trusted, because it's also a testament to their action. Like, I know with my parents, the hardest part of them admitting that my brothers are predators is the fact that they think it's a reflection on their parenting, which it partially is. Like, it is partially, but not fully. Obviously, my brothers are grown-ups. They've made their own decisions. But I do think that it was the probability of them becoming predators could have been less. It's not a guarantee, right? So as parents, we can't guarantee our kids won't become predators. We can only do our best to bring down the probability. You don't know if you're raising a future scammer. You don't know. You don't know if your sweet, innocent baby will eventually be a murderer. You don't know these things. You can only do your best to bring down the probability. And because I think they were so neglectful in so many ways, there it was, so like, I think, like, I would like to believe that had things been done differently, the outcome could have been different. But again, with all of their 10 kids, all of us have problems. And it's not unique to my family. I used to really think like I used to think like, oh, there must be some families with no problems. Everybody got problems. Everybody has problems. The question is, what problems? Everybody has the same kind of problems. Not everybody has the same, not everybody has a large family either. You have to imagine, if you have no uncles, you don't have a pedophile uncle. There are people with no uncles in the world, so they're never going to have a pedophile uncle. But I have a lot of uncles. So I have a pedophile uncle. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are people, we don't all have the same problems because we don't have the same families. But all of us have problems. Those people I know with no uncles, oh, they got different problems. Okay, different kinds of problems. So again, when we have these conversations, and thank you for staying through stream with me. I'm done. My spoons are done. I want to go home and cry now over Athena's death. That's just one little girl. That's just one story. One single story. Just imagine all the billions of babies, all the billions of kids. So when people say, you know, we need to focus strictly on capitalism and we need to focus building ranks with people who will ignore Athena's story, you can go fuck yourselves. With peace and love, figure it out on your own. Like, I get it. Sounds good. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Because while you're waiting to mobilize all these fucking racists to fight capitalism, Athena's dying. These 7 babies are being shot up by their dad. I don't want to fucking hear it. Okay? I don't want to fucking hear it. I'm tired. We're all tired. You don't give a fuck about kids. You're not centering their pain. You are just focused on winning and building bridges with the worst fucking people in the world in the name of what you think is collectivism. I'm tired. So the only people I want to hear say collectivism are class conscious are people who also are focusing on intersectionality and the people who bring everybody up with them, because we are suffering. People are suffering. And yes, there needs to be philosophical work. And yes, we need to do work together as a community. But, you know, like Tabitha said, this is serious. This isn't a joke. This isn't a meme. People are dying. Our community is dying. And not even that, the mothers are alive. One of the moms is in surgery. What is she going to feel when she wakes up to realize her babies are dead? Imagine this mother in surgery doesn't even know. Or maybe she has some idea because she saw it happen. Obviously, she knew it was happening. Just imagine the pain. Imagine how we feel hearing the story and how we cry about it, and we're not even there. Imagine the community, the neighbors, the cousins, the father who's alive, the uncle whose kid was killed. Imagine how many real people are going to be impacted. And imagine you're just hearing the story and it's so devastating. Now imagine all those people who have to live with the reality that it happened to their family. It's not just something you hear in the news either. When my brothers were in school, their friend, they had 2 friends in elementary and middle school, brothers. They came home to find their parents dead. The father had shot the mother and then killed himself. It happened in my neighborhood with my little brother's friends. It happened in real communities. It's real. It's not just something you hear on the news. Real people are losing their life every day. Women are losing their life every day by simply filing for divorce. People say, well, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just leave? Both cases where these women filed for divorce, their men killed them, their children, and tried to kill themselves and or tried to get away with it. So those women did try. They did try to file for divorce. They did try to end the marriage. And look what happened. Okay. Since the world has decided it's always going to be this way, I propose we radically accept it, and only then can real change happen. So I have hope based off of real data of real people I know for a fact are making decisions every day to be better. And everybody else who isn't making that decision at the expense of everybody else, specifically listen to me, at the expense of everybody else, they need to be held accountable. And people need to stop giving them 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 18th chances. Stop living for people's potential and recognize where people are and be open with boundaries. Okay? Open with boundaries. Chet says, can we end with something cute? Hold on. Let me see. I feel like I always have good things saved for you guys. Okay, we can end on like a fun parenting video that I thought was kind of funny. Speaking about kids. This is I'd like to know your opinion on this. This is Wiz Khalifa with Benny Blanco and that white guy who's mad he doesn't have an Emmy.
I smoke weed. What do you do when you have a kid? How does that work? Like, and you gotta like take care of the kid.
You guys didn't have kids yet?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay.
So what? So
Like,
what?
yeah, I'd be scared if it was like 8
P.S. Best concert I ever went to was Wiz Khalifa. Please don't tell me there's anything bad about him.
p.m. Normally, I'd be trying to get high, but then, like, what if there's a medical emergency that I have to be like, I don't know, I'm nervous about my ability.
These men are in their 40s. Yeah, Little Dicky, that's his name. These men are in their 40s. These people are old. Maybe they're in their late 30s. These people are old. And they're like, what do I do if I want to get high and I have kids? Bro.
To respond.
Yeah. Parenting definitely changes your weed habits.
Okay.
So when my son was a baby, that's when I realized, like, okay, I gotta figure out when I want to smoke and how to smoke.
Yeah.
Because what it really is like, you don't have time to do that shit.
Yeah.
And then you're going, like, in the middle of the day, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And you're like, oh shit, I didn't smoke no weed yet.
Yeah. But now what happens when? So now. You know, Sebastian's like, what, he's like 12 now?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so he's like 12. Now he sees that does he smoke weed?
Fuck no.
So, and now what do you do? Like, has he asked you about
Fuck
it?
no. Well, he knows about weed, but he's not
obviously he knows about weed. You on your Instagram, you're just
But he's
smoking.
not gonna smoke, though.
Well, how old were you ever?
I mean, not at least till he's 21.
Interesting.
Is he ever just like, Dad, can I smoke weed?
No.
He's never asked you?
He probably knows it's for
So you were
adults.
smoking when you were like,
No.
were you smoking at like 16, 17, 18?
I smoked when I was 11.
I was smoking when it was too young. It wasn't appropriate at the age that I was smoking at, but I didn't have the right guidance.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Are his
completely.
friends smoking weed?
No.
They're not.
He's 12.
No, but kids try weed.
Yeah,
I
some
tried
kids
weed
do.
when I was 11 years old.
Yeah, kids try weed, but kids are different these days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
the last
you don't
thing-
have kids, so you don't know that.
Do they
Yeah.
think weed's like corny?
They just not doing what we was doing when we were that age. Like,
What are they
some
doing?
kids are, but it just depends on, like, the circumstances and where they're at.
Like, what do they do?
I like this weed a lot. I'm really happy.
Listen, I think the funniest part of this video is I don't know how Wiz parents, but I think if I had a child and I parented that child, I also don't think they would be smoking weed with their friends. I didn't smoke weed till I was in my mid-late 20s, for the record. I think I was 28 when I first smoked weed. But I think the thing is, if you raise your kids in an open household and you let them know, like, you can do drugs one day, bro. I'm a big drug fan. You can do drugs. I think kids, depending on the child, are more than okay with waiting. I think the issue is, like, a lot of us did shit when we were younger because we were told we couldn't. At least I did. There was so much shit I got into when I was younger just because I was told I couldn't. And I was like, oh, PDA triggered, let's go. So I kind of do think that if you give kids an opportunity to ask questions and to respond, they will wait. But I think it's the funniest part of this video for me is just all of them being like, wait, would you smoke weed? And it's like, you got to think about these things, you know? And that's the point of parenting that I think is so important. And then all the comments on this video are like, I can't believe Selena Gomez married this guy. Like, this is the guy she chose. I don't know what you want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're all big kids. That's why I say, like, adulthood is high school with money. It's just high school with money. You know, but I do appreciate Wiz Khalifa's, like, reaction to, like, no, he's not smoking weed. And, like, assuming his kid is smoking weed is just such a funny idea to me because I maybe they assume he's giving them weed or something. But if you look at all the data, it's really not good to smoke weed before you're, like, 21 or before you're 25 or before you're, like, genuinely, guys, I'll be so real. Sometimes I tell my sister, and we even have conversations where I'm like, hey, thank goodness you're my witness because you were with me at this time. She goes, wait, I was? And I was like, oh, fuck. And, like, even my memory, my partner's like, this. I'm like, And, like, weed does have impacts on your long-term memory. So even sometimes we'll sit there and I'm like, we have pictures. We were here. And then, you know, talk about reliability. I heard a loud noise. Talk about reliability and memory. But sometimes, yeah, like, weed is one of those things. So I recommend if you're a young person, you're listening to me, do drugs, but do them later. I'm telling you, you're not going to benefit from doing them younger. Like, you're not. And even when you get older, girl, you know, Whoopsies. But let me just tell you this. If weed was legal, I'd be doing it. But it's illegal, and I haven't done it since 2023, since before I came to Europe. Look at me. No weed has been smoked. No weed has been had. But if Croatia legalizes it, I'm going to smoke again. But it's not good for your brain, you know? It's illegal. But CBD everywhere. You know, CBD everywhere. You know? So I'm not even judging you. I'm just letting you know. Anyways, did that lighten the mood a little bit? You know? I will say this though, never again will I do shrooms at the rate I did them before. I will microdose in the future if it's legal, but I am never going to see gods again. I do not need to see God again, okay? Especially insect gods. Absolutely not. Let me stay in my life where I'm paying bills and everything isn't topsy-turvy. Ooh, but a little microdosing sounds nice, especially with the chronic pain. Oh, yesterday, oh my God. I was working out, okay? And I was on the floor and I was just doing ab workouts, like mini crunches, like barely anything, okay? Like my partner and I wind down at night, and usually when they're cooking, I like put out my yoga mat and I'm like I do my little exercises. And it felt like my almost like a Barbie doll, you know, where the hip is, you know, the Barbie doll snaps. That's what it felt like. And I was like, and I sat there and I was like, you know what would really help right now? Some weed. Oh, it was so painful. It was so painful. But it's just like fibro related and maybe even some hypermobility related, but I'm not sure. I've never been formally diagnosed. But anyways, all of this to say, be good to yourselves and others. Think about parenthood before you bring a baby into the universe. And if your baby is here, I hope your baby is loved. And I hope you know your baby deserves everything. And I love your baby, even though I don't know your baby. And I think it would do all of us some good to think and prioritize children's safety over our own sense of entitlement. You know, we want to, you know, be a community. I know people keep saying like, you decided to have kids, I didn't want kids. And I think that's so valid. And also like, who's going to play the auntie role then? Who's going to be the uncle? Who's going to be the trusted adult? If all of us abandon our siblings who have children, if all of us abandon the kids in our lives because we didn't choose to have kids, where's that village everybody's waiting for? So if there are kids in your family, if you are connected to children, be there for them and let them know they have a trusted adult they can rely on. You know, I'm not saying you have to raise the kids. I'm not saying you have to adopt them, but you know what I mean? And understand that if your friends have babies, their life will change. They can't go out the same way they used to. They're not getting as much sleep as they used to. You know, make sure if you really care about community, your values show that. Because I do think a lot of people maybe forget. And I think even in my life, I didn't even have kids. I just became chronically ill. And it felt like a couple of people forgot that would change the dynamic. And that's crazy to me. That you just thought, oh, do you think chronic illness is fun? Do you think I'm just like over here with a cute identity that I'm like, hee, chronically ill? Or do you understand that my life has completely changed? It's like, I really think people just think like we're doing this for fun. And that's just not the case, you know? So keep that in mind. With that said, let's call it, I don't have the spoons. That story was too heavy for me. I will clip it. I will clip the Sykkuno story as well. I can already tell by my comment sections that like the men, he's not a predator, well, this isn't every man, this, you know what I'm saying? I'm tired. So please, if you want to protect vulnerable people, then focus your energy on the predators and stop nitpicking the victims. Okay? Just focus. Because the predators will use any excuse to get ahead of and also turn around and blame the victims. Okay? All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. Like the stream before you go. That's it. Okay. Bye.